the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601 Registration. After the meal, Eminem thought about Xiaolang, who wanted to rent a hotel room and originally planned to send him a text message telling him that he would depart from Manjin City on the 15th of the next year. But then Eminem thought about it. Sakura had said that before, so she should have sent him a text message to tell him, right? So I didn't send it. On the other hand, Sakura hesitated after returning to the room. Well, should I tell Sioran whether it is the 16th or the 15th? Don't tell him. He was embarrassed to follow us directly, so he was just trailing. If you send it to him directly, he will be embarrassed, and Eminem will send it. Tomoyo said thoughtfully. I see. You are still considerate, Tomoyo. Sakura suddenly realized point hearing this. Tomoyo showed an understanding smile. But don't we really go to the haunted house together? It sounds like fun. Sakura asked in confusion point when the gym challenge was mentioned before. Tomoyo said I won't go. Why? Do you have to follow him if it's not necessary? Tomoyo said matter of factly, and then changed the topic. Unless you have a precognitive dream about something related to a haunted house. Okay, let's plan what to do in Ensu City these days. There are quite a lot of attractions in Ensu City. Sakura continued with great interest. Well, I heard that the recent movie is very interesting. We can watch the movie and plan at the same time. Tomoyo said, opened the ranking of horror movies, and entered haunted house in the keywords. The next day, Eminem, Yuanzi and Xiaolan went to the official gym. Looking at the mottled red door in front of me and the various antique buildings with white lanterns hanging in the yard, it can only be said that it is indeed a ghost gym. But even Xiaolan was not too frightened by Yuanzu gym at this time, because there were too many people. As one of the 8 great halls in the Johto area, challengers come and go point. Although ghost type is an attribute that most trainers are reluctant to deal with, the traffic flow is still not comparable to that of small gyms, and even if you want to maintain the eerie setting, you can't lose the meaning of the gym itself. So there are a lot of staff point in this way. It is more like a theme park, and it is difficult to create a too scary feeling point. The place where the real gym trainer practices should be in the backyard that does not accept challengers. It is a really dark and secluded place. The 3 of them arrived at the registration desk and directly signed up for the 5th badge assessment and chose a haunted house challenge point. The registration staff, after hearing the answers from Eminem and the trio, immediately rang the bell in their hands and shouted through the loudspeaker, haunted house challenge. The 3 haunted house challengers. Let us give them a round of applause. People in the hall, after hearing that there was someone brave, gathered around and applauded. It was as if they had won some big prize. This scene actually made Yuanzi feel guilty. Xiaolan gritted her teeth and asked Yuanzi next to her, are you sure? There are many people who choose to challenge the haunted house. It should be very common. Yuanzi said guiltily. Don't worry. In this gym's haunted house challenge, no one has suffered any serious injuries in the past year. 8 challengers have conquered ghost type Pokémon, and 3 of them had no ghost type talent before. The registration staff said time to introduce point Xiaolan. This is even more disturbing. Being able to tame a Pokémon proves that it is wild, which means your haunted house really has ghost type Pokémon, right? There are 3 unlucky guys. They must have been scared out of the ghost talent. What the hell is it that no one has been seriously injured in a year? Is someone just slightly injured? Has anyone been seriously injured before? There really aren't any haunted houses with ghosts in them, right? Xiaolan became more and more worried, and it was Yuanzi who thought wrong. The haunted house challenge of Yuanzu gym is indeed famous, but this does not mean that many people signed up point. Unless you are a ghost trainer or a trainer with some interest in ghosts, you will not easily sign up for the haunted house challenge. And the pass rate is not that high. Some of them fail to complete the challenge and quit due to the pressure of point. After a short celebration ceremony, the registration staff continued to register information. Point among them is whether it is a ghost type trainer. Eminem explained. I have a little relationship with ghost type trainers, but I don't carry ghost type Pokémon now. Just fill it out according to whether you have ghost type talents. Huh. The registration officer who looked at the registration form was suddenly stunned for a moment, and then looked up at Eminem. He must have discovered Eminem's past record. Semi-finalist in the Kanto region rookie competition. But he didn't say much. After recording the information, he said normally to the three of Eminem, the specific challenge information will be sent to everyone's illustrated books before 6 o'clock tonight. Please do not leave the signal area. The date of the challenge will be arranged within 24 hours or within 72 hours. The location will not exceed the Yuansu area, and the transportation will definitely reach the place within 8 hours. Since it is said to be Yuansu area, it does not mean Yuansu City, but refers to Yuansu City as the center, including the surrounding small cities, villages, and towns, and even the suburbs. Each region is also divided into several regions with the large city as the center, and the three of Eminem, they had already signed up, so naturally they couldn't just give in. After confirming, they left the Yuansu gym. Let's go prepare some things for the adventure. What about you? Yuanzi asked Eminem. Prepare one for me, and I'll go play against the club. Eminem said matter-of-factly. After the two left, Eminem vaguely heard Yuanzi explaining to Xiaolan that there would be no problem with Eminem following. The three of them signed up together, and the Haunted House Challenge also allows multiple trainers to sign up. You can also find additional people to accompany you, but the number of people cannot be too many. Then Eminem went to the battle club. In addition to the step-by-step training, he also focused on training Mayo and formulated a restorative training process for this eccentric little wild boar. As for Gungan, after Eminem is going to return to Sangzhou town, he will ask Grandma Leixi for some more advice and customize a medicine to simulate the environment for it, and then officially start to guide its evolution before the Chinese New Year. As for Mayo's thick fat suppressing potion, Eminem has already refined a test version and started giving it to Mayo to try. If everything goes well, you can start to increase your growth level in these 2 days, and you will have the opportunity to hit level 33 during the Chinese New Year, that is, hit the first stage of evolution. At night, Eminem also saw the message and arranged the challenge location for himself. Yuanzi and Xiaolan. It was actually in the city of Yuansu, and it was an apartment that was in operation and currently occupied. Chapter 602 Predictive Dream. After returning to the Pokémon Center, Amu went to Yuanzi and Xiaolan's rooms and checked with them the information he had received. It was indeed the same apartment building. I found it. This apartment is in the northwest of the city, not far from the burnt tower. It is an old low-rise apartment that has been in existence for more than 50 years. Yuanzi said while looking at the map in the illustrated book. By the way, it's still being rented out. There are tenants in it now, right? Eminem muttered. Haha, so the probability of being haunted is low, right? Xiaolan said to herself at this time. No, I read the reviews online. It seems that this apartment has been haunted for a long time. Many of the previous tenants have come forward to tell the truth. The ones who still live there now are all guys who don't believe in evil. Yuanzi said. The immediate correction made Xiaolan's face become even tighter. Eminem rolled his eyes and said, I didn't think about that, but I saw the notice from the gym and rented 2 rooms for us for 1 night. I was wondering if this was the apartment landlord looking for luck. ZHU Gym asked for help, but was later outsourced to the challenger by Yuan. ZHU Gym. Xiaolan. Yuanzi. It's really not impossible. In Yuansu City, when it comes to things like hauntings, the first person who comes to mind for help is of course the Yuansu Gym. However, Yuansu Gym cannot solve all problems. The main reason is that many so-called haunts are caused by scaring people or scaring themselves. Even if there are ghost type Pokémon, people are not haunted all the time. The trainers of Yuansu Gym would at most go to the scene to take a look. If no ghost type Pokémon was found at that time, there would be no other way, and they couldn't wait forever. Eminem now suspects that Yuansu Gym is not paying for the rent of the room, but is still making money. The challenge is to investigate the haunting incident, or to spend the night in the apartment from 8 PM to 8 AM. Well, the latter should be easier, and it is an alternative, right? It's already too late today. Tomorrow let's go to that apartment in the afternoon. Amu said and looked at Yuanzi and Xiaolan. Seeing that neither of them objected, so Eminem continued. Then I'll go back first. Conan can lend me a hand and I'll help him go to the toilet, Eminem said, carrying Conan away as well. Conan. Of course Conan knew that Eminem came to him because that thing needed to make final adjustments. But, don't you have a better excuse? Conan couldn't help but complain. Of course, what Eminem didn't know was that his excuse was automatically understood by Sonoko and Xiaolan. He wanted to talk to Conan about Kamen Rider, and he was too embarrassed to be known. When Conan came to Eminem's room, Xiaoai was already ready. In Eminem's absence, the chair in the Pokémon Center guest room had been transformed into a look that Eminem didn't recognize. After Conan sat on it, the hands and feet will be immobilized immediately, and there will be all kinds of strange lines connected to all parts of the body. Before checking out, be sure to restore it to the original state, Eminem reminded. He didn't want to be misunderstood. Then seeing Conan consciously get on the chair, Eminem said seriously, "This is an opportunity that I worked hard to help you get. You must wear it." Conan rolled his eyes at him. He had already figured out that Eminem was pooing himself. What opportunity was finally won? It was obvious that Xiaoai was not sure about herself and didn't know how to talk to herself, so she became the experiment. Seeing Xiaoai operating the equipment unconsciously, Eminem said, "By the way, let's go to that apartment together tomorrow afternoon." Xiaoai frowned slightly when he heard this, but he didn't refute. The movements in his hands didn't even stop. If it's a scary person, this kid should be able to crack it. I'll also take ghosts there, and if it's a ghost type Pokémon, I should be able to find it too, Eminem said very confidently. Conan said with some guilt, "She is doing a very important operation, right? Can you shut up first? If I make a mistake." Xiaoai glanced at him after hearing this, with an expression like, "Who do you think could make a mistake?" Conan, who was on the experimental table, had no choice but to shut up immediately. More than an hour later, Conan was released. Before he was released, Xiaoai told him, "You will be officially allowed to try it out in the next 2 days. Well, Conan Megastone. Conan was a little excited on the one hand, but on the other hand, what's this name? It sounds like I'm a Pokémon. Conan rolled his eyes. "I took it," Eminem said solemnly. Seeing Conan's "Who are you?" expression, Eminem added, "As the sponsor of the experiment, I have the right to name it." Conan had nothing to do with this kind of behavior. That was only for his own entertainment. He just thought that he was about to have a megastone. I was about to have the antidote, so I couldn't help but ask expectantly, "After I have that, I can change back to my original appearance at any time. How long can it last each time?" How long it can last, of course, remains to be tested, but it's definitely not any time. If you are too willful, you might be like those people killed by APTX 4869, and your genes will directly collapse into a puddle of liquid organic matter. AI reminded. Conan trembled when he heard this, but don't worry, in order to restrict yourself from changing back willfully, and with reference to Mega Evolution, I also accepted Eminem's suggestion and created an exclusive keystone, so it's useless if you only want to inspire Mega Evolution. Xiaoai said very reasonably. Conan thought about it for a moment, and then said, "How do I feel? This is not for my safety, but for your enjoyment. Of course you have to control it. Otherwise, if you and Xiaolan take a bath together, and Mega evolves, when you get excited, wouldn't you die in the bathtub?" Eminem emphasized, I'm not excited." Conan lost his confidence. "Okay, if you don't go back, your sister Xiaolan will be anxious." Xiaoai pushed him out with a look of disgust. Eminem also urged Xiaoai to go to bed early. Although she will set off tomorrow in the afternoon, she may stay up late. Originally, Eminem thought that Tomoyo and Sakura would not go tomorrow. After all, Tomoyo had clearly refused, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, just before Tomoyo was about to knock on the door, Eminem woke up under a spiritual prompt. At the same time, I'm still a little confused. Why is it so early today? Aren't precognitive dreams usually at 4 or 5 o'clock? Eminem opened the door and saw Tomoyo with some dark circles under his eyes. He was wearing pajamas and said with a serious face, Sakura dreamed of a haunted house. Sakura is also very helpless. I don't know why, but Tomoyo has been enjoying watching ghost movies and listening to ghost stories these past 2 days. With Tomoyo's tireless efforts to make up for it, Sakura finally had a nightmare. Chapter 603 Old Apartment. Alliance December 11th, 203 p.m. Amu and his party came to the northwest of Yuansu City, in front of a dilapidated apartment, because there is a deserted park in front of the apartment and there are unfinished buildings next to it. There are only a few people around. Eminem looked at the illustrated book, checked the address, and confirmed, this is it. The age is really worthy of the year. This small 2-story apartment looked very shabby. If the windows were more broken, Amu would believe it. If it was said to be an abandoned apartment. Xiaolan looked at this building and then thought about the rumors of being haunted. Her face turned pale. Hearing Eminem's words at this time, Xiaolan immediately retorted, no, but, although it looks a little older, it will make you feel comfortable to be in such a brand new park when you step out, and Xiaolan was obviously comforting herself. She probably thought that, if everyone was in a good mood, ghosts wouldn't come out. But, why is this park so empty? Conan wondered. The park looks nice, but I don't see anyone coming for a walk. How could there be someone? It's almost become an exclusive park for old people. At this moment, I heard the sound of the door opening. A thin old man with age spots on his face came out and said this to Eminem and others, perhaps because of the light, or perhaps because of the hints of various legends. The old man's painting style looked very eerie at this time. Xiaolan suddenly took a breath of cold air. At this time, Eminem said, you are the old Mr. Fangai we are going to fight with, right? We are the trainers who are going to challenge the haunted house this time, the 3 of us. As Amu said, she pointed to herself, Yuanzi and Xiaolan to the old man, bringing 2 friends and 2 children. Old man Fang Yi looked at the team in confusion. There too many people? Amu asked worriedly. No, it doesn't matter. Even if 2 rooms are not enough, I can secretly help you open another one. Anyway, there are already several empty rooms here. Fang Yi shook his head and said, Grandpa, what did you mean by the park just now? Conan stepped forward to make cute remarks. Oh, the park. 4 years ago, when this park was just built, a female corpse was found here. Fangai said, and Xiaolan and Sakura both looked a little uncomfortable. Seeing this, Tomoyo whispered to Sakura, didn't I have a precognitive dream? It must be the cloakard causing trouble. Don't be afraid. But Sakura is not sure that can it really be regarded as a precognitive dream. Although Sakura is usually very carefree, she is actually very afraid of ghosts and the like. But if she knew it was a ghost type Pokémon or a cloakard causing trouble, she wouldn't be afraid. But the charred corpse 4 years ago obviously had nothing to do with the cloakard, and this park was originally built by the developer of the building next door to provide supporting facilities for the residents of the soon-to-be-built high-rise apartments. But as you can see, now this building is also unfinished, and there are no buildings around it. There are so many people, Fang Yi said, pointing to half of the building surrounded by shabby environmental protection cloth. The location here is actually pretty good. Why is it only half built? Amu wondered after looking at it. Although the location here is a bit far away from the city center, it is not yet on the outskirts of the city. More importantly, less than 3 kilometers to the north is the burned tower, one of the scenic spots in Yuansu City, and if a high-rise apartment building rises from the ground, you can even see a scorched tower on the high-rise building, because the boss who developed this place committed suicide on the construction site. People rumor that it was the ghost Pokémon who originally lived here. After all, this place used to be a cemetery, so no other boss was willing to take over. Old man Yoshiichi explained calmly, suicide cemetery. Sakura and Xiaolan became even more confused. Now Sakura can be sure that this is definitely not done by cloakard. What? A ghost type Pokémon? That Yuansu gym Amu also became a little anxious after hearing this. If someone is killed by a ghost type Pokémon, then this is not the same as the urban legend that catches wind and shadows. Everyone, whether it is Junsha or a ghost type gym, will be very concerned about it. Of course, people from the Yuansu gym came to check and concluded that the death of the boss must have nothing to do with ghost type Pokémon. Okay, don't talk about it outside. Come in and sit down. Old Man Fang Yi said. The old man Fang Yi is the person in charge of the connection here, and he was probably told by the landlord. Eminem is now more and more convinced that there is a trick to the haunted house challenge of Yuansu Gym. The age of the apartment is similar to that of the outside. There is no contrast between the outside is shabby and the inside is very clean. The floor feels moldy. The 8 rooms on the 2 floors are not large. There is no independent bathroom, only the floor above. There is a shared toilet upstairs and downstairs. The unique moisture of the toilet is mixed with the musty smell of the floor. Although the smell is not bad, it still feels old and shabby. It's really a rare visitor. Has the gym sent another challenger? No one has been here for a long time. It seems that there will be another good show tonight. A man with a protruding mouth came from the room at this time. Lee walked out and sighed after seeing Eminem and others. A good show. Eminem asked him back. Hahaha, the ghosts here seem to like strangers. A few months ago, 2 challengers came here to stay. They were so scared that they had to leave before 12 o'clock. They probably failed in the end. The man with the protruding mouth laughed at this time point after saying that. He went out looking very happy about his misfortune. He is also a tenant here. Amu confirmed to the old man Fangai. Well, that's Kikuji in room 4. He has lived there for several years. He seems to be an employee of a model shop. He is always doing some crafts in the room. Hoichi introduced. Xiaolin and Xiaoying had already grabbed Sonoko and Tomoyo next to them. From the outside, Xiaoai, the little girl who should be scared the most, has an expressionless face at this time, with an expression like I'm a little sleepy, while the other kid Conan has already walked in and looked around terrain. At this moment, the sound of flushing was heard, and a slightly fat man was seen walking out of the toilet on the 1st floor. The toilet was obviously not soundproof, so the chubby guy said in an eerie tone, "It doesn't matter if you guys are here. It's been so deserted recently, and you can't take any pictures. What's the point of continuing like this? Hehehe." After that, he walked back, got into room 2. Fang Yi directly introduced. That's Xian Shang from room 2. He likes to shoot some supernatural videos and upload them to the internet. Does he seem to have any fans? I don't understand. Chapter 604 Reasons. At this moment, a very serious looking young man with a square face wearing glasses walked downstairs and looked at Eminem and others and said, "You guys are looking for ghosts, but it has nothing to do with me. But I hope you can keep your voices down. I have important papers to write tonight." "Ah, you still writing a thesis at this time? How about we do it after the year?" Eminem tried to shake his will. However, the square-faced young man didn't seem to be shaken and went straight back to the house. "College student?" Eminem looked at Fang Yi doubtfully. He was so ambitious Eminem thought he could graduate. Rahiko is a graduate student. He seems to be majoring in Pokémon evolution, but his talent as a trainer. Ahem. The old man Fangai coughed twice and skipped the evaluation. Obviously Luan is a purely research-oriented graduate student. He usually writes papers in his room number 1 and doesn't come out very often. Moreover, he just moved here recently. He is also the only one among us who has never seen a ghost. Fang Yi's tone sounded as if hell has become a normal thing. Evolution, Amu said, instinctively glancing at Xiaoai. Of course, at Xiaoai's level, it would be nice for ordinary graduate students to sweep the floor in her institute, come and rest in the 3 empty rooms upstairs. Of the 5 rooms upstairs, only Kikuji and I occupy numbers 5 and 4. Rooms 6, 7, and 8 are all empty, but the toilets are only shared toilets outside. We young people have never lived in a place like this, right? Fang Yi said what the elderly like to say, it doesn't matter, we can be anywhere in the wild. Eminem said immediately that it didn't matter. However, Ding Defin had nothing to say, and Eminem immediately received a few blank stares. Grandpa, are there 3 rooms downstairs and 5 rooms upstairs? Conan asked curiously. Well, because there are 2 utility rooms downstairs, the house has never been full, so the landlord has not tidied it up. Fang Yi explained. That is to say, in rooms 1 and 2 downstairs, there are brother Yanshang, who is the host of Soul Exploration, and brother Luan, a graduate student. On the 2nd floor, there is the old man and brother Kakuji from the model shop. What about the old man? Why don't you move to the 1st floor? Conan asked curiously. When Fang heard this, he said with a straight face, because I'm not old enough to even walk up the stairs. Conan. Xiaolan saw that the old man was not convinced, so she pulled the childish Conan and smiled apologetically at Fang Yi. Then, how about Eminem living in room 6, Sakura and I living in room 7, and Miss Sonoko and Miss Xiaolan living in room 8? Tomoyo had already made arrangements at this time. Wait, we don't need to separate 3 rooms, right? Xiaolan said quickly. No, that's right. It's best not to separate at this time. Sakura has gained a lot of knowledge from Tomoyo in the past 2 days. In Xiaolan's opinion, it is best for everyone to stay in the same room for 1 night. No, it's best to give up the challenge decisively and return to the Pokémon Center now. We also need to stop by Fenghuan Temple on the way to make sure no dirty things follow us. Eminem had other ideas at this time. Instead of staying 1 night, it would be better to resolve the matter. Eminem doesn't believe in ghosts either. He believes that so-called ghosts are either scary people or ghost-type Pokémon. Now that Conan and his ghost stone are here, we can try to solve the haunting here. So compared to choosing a room, Eminem is more concerned about, Uncle Fang Yi, can we go to your room and have a chat? Amu asked at this time. Rather than looking for clues, it would be too wasteful to leave the witness Hang Yi alone without asking. Okay, but I don't have good tea here. Fang Yi was obviously very bored at ordinary times. Xiaolan and Xiaoying heard that they cannot separate rooms for now. Although I don't want to hear ghost stories, I'm still relieved for the time being. At least we will not be separated for the time being. Arriving at Fang Yi's room, everyone also discovered that the layout of the room was a living room and bedroom with some shabby furniture, and outside it was a small kitchen simply separated by a wooden sliding door with no extra space. When the old man Fang Yi went to the kitchen to boil water, Xiaolan and Xiaoying also went to help. And Eminem, who was looking around, saw photos of old man Fang Yi when he was young and middle-aged on the cabinet. At that time, there was a kettle beside him. However, looking at the room, there were no traces of Pokémon life at all, and naturally Eminem would not ask where this pod was if it is not a Pokémon with a very high growth rate. Generally speaking, the lifespan of most Pokémon is not as good as that of humans. If they were trained by humans normally, nearly half of them would have an average lifespan slightly lower than that of humans. And if it is in the wild state, the growth rate will often be slower and the lifespan will be lower. In particular, the insect type is a representative of short life. Who is already relatively long-lived among the insect type. Hearing the sound of old man Fang Yi coming over with tea with the help of Xiaolan and Xiaoying, Eminem immediately looked away. But Hoichi seems to have discovered this, that Hoo is now asleep in the Holy Fire Temple. Fang Yi took the initiative to say something. Seeing him taking the initiative to mention it, Eminem also remembered that he had seen the Holy Fire Shrine in the news just now. After hearing about the charred corpse of a woman here 4 years ago and the president's suicide 3 years ago, Eminem also searched the internet for relevant news at that time. As Oichi said, the case 4 years ago has not been solved yet. Based on the testimony of witnesses, one of the 2 murderers was drawn, but they have never been caught. In the unfinished building next door, it was indeed built by developing a cemetery, and it was a Pokémon cemetery. However, according to news records, apart from some conflicts at the beginning, coordination has been completed since then, and the real estate company that developed it has funded all the Pokémon buried here to be sent to the Holy Fire Shrine. Compared to this place, Holy Fire Shrine is the villa area in the Pokémon Cemetery. It is very close to the Scorched Tower, so naturally it is not far from here. There are legends about the Scorched Tower's resurrection from the ashes, so the area nearby can be said to be a prosperous place for Pokémon mausoleums, and it's also a high-priced area. Not only will it not be too far away to visit your Pokémon, but the specifications have been improved. In view of the developer's sincerity, everyone has also reached a consensus. The ghost-type Pokémon that also live in the cemetery are also led by Yuan Sujim, and are either adopted or sent to the Holy Fire Shrine. It is said to be an ancestral hall, but it is actually a mausoleum area, which is very suitable for ghost-type Pokémon. Dream survives it is precisely because this matter was properly resolved, and Yuan Sujim came forward, that after some rumors about the president's suicide appeared, Yuan Sujim also had high-level trainers and even invited trainers from other places. The ghost-type training master came to see it, ruling out the possibility of revenge from wild ghost-type Pokémon. Otherwise, if there is really a wild ghost-type Pokémon that forces people to death, not only will it be a tense and sensitive incident, but it will also make people think that the Yuan Sujim has collected black money. Now Eminem heard that old man Fang Yizu, who is also in the Holy Fire Temple. Combined with his current economic conditions, Eminem estimates that his pots and kettles were once buried next door, and this may be the reason why he is unwilling to move now. Apart from here, there are no such low-priced lots around the burnt tower. Chapter 605 Supernatural Phenomenon. Old Man Fangai, can you tell us more about the haunted thing you mentioned before? Eminem changed the topic at this time. Well, okay. Fangai said matter-of-factly, he was quite old and had nothing to do. Sakura called Eminem in a low voice, as if she didn't want to hear it. Oh, you can go to the room first. Amu said to Sakura and others at this time. Forget it's best not to separate at this time. Sakura is already very experienced. Xiaolan thought about it and felt that, although she didn't want to hear ghost stories, she might have to experience them herself in the future, so she might as well learn more about them first. I was actually the one who first noticed something strange. It was about a year after the charred corpse was found in the park, right? I saw floating will-o'-the-wisps through the window in the building opposite. Fangai said at this moment. Will-o'-the-wisp? What does it look like? Eminem asked at this time. It can't be the kind of will-o'-the-wisp that comes with the fire skill. Will-o'-the-wisp, right? The first time I saw it was a dark green will-o'-the-wisp. It was like the eyes of something, emitting a dark green light, floating in that abandoned building. I told other tenants at the time, but at that time they still don't believe it. But from then on, all kinds of strange things started to appear in the apartment. Fang Yi said in a faint tone. Wait, did you see it for the first time? That is to say, have you seen different ones later? Amu noticed Fangai's wording and asked for details carefully. Although Xiaolan and others didn't want to listen at first, what the old man Fang Yi said had whetted their appetites. At this time, they looked helplessly at the more serious Eminem. Only Conan was also paying attention to old man Yoshiichi's answer. That's right. I've seen it a few times since then. Sometimes it's orange, like real fire, and sometimes the color is very bright. It's hard to describe what color it is. Fangai also heard Eminem's question. He was stunned for a moment, but then he answered, I see. Go on and tell me, what strange thing happened? Amu silently wrote down these details. The first person to notice the abnormality was a male tenant who is no longer here. When he came back one night, he saw a huge figure of the Grim Reaper in the park. After telling us about it the next day, he became panicked. The land has been moved. Fang Yi said first, death. Upon hearing this, Amu looked at Conan instinctively. After Conan glanced at this guy with his dead fish eyes, he asked Fang Yi, Grandpa, what is the giant death? What kind of Pokémon is it? No, we have seen it one after another. It is a huge figure 4 or 5 meters tall, wearing a cloak that looks like it is constantly shaking. There are no Pokémon that look like that, right? Junsha and gym training teachers also said that there are no traces of large Pokémon. Fang Yi said with certainty. Eminem was also puzzled after hearing this. 4 or 5 meters high, excluding Dynamax, mythical beasts, and aquatic Pokémon. There are only a handful of ordinary Pokémon with this height. Has anyone seen it up close? Conan asked curiously. That's not true. I usually wander in the park outside. I can see it from the window on the north side of the apartment. If you want to give it a try, you can stay in room 6 at night. Fang Yi reminded. Xiaolan and Xiaoying silently made a note. They will not live in room 6. Maybe it's because the murderer hasn't been arrested yet, so that poor woman has never been able to ascend to heaven. Fang Yi guessed with emotion. Eminem had searched for some rumors before, so he asked, there are more strange things than these, right? Yes. Sometimes the TV will inexplicably play images of women with burns all over their bodies. Sometimes when you walk out of the room, you will find that the corridor has completely changed its appearance, and the walls are covered with various strange patterns drawn with blood. I know where it leads. Before I knew it, most of the original tenants had left, leaving only Leowen, Iwashang, and Kikuji. As for graduate student Lu Yan, he moved here later and has never seen this before. After all, this kind of situation does not happen every night. Fang Yi's words had already made Xiaoran and Xiao Sakura tremble. Then, why are you still? Xiaolan felt that these supernatural phenomena had seriously exceeded the standards and were more terrifying than imagined. Hahaha, why are you so afraid of these things when you are half buried in the ground? Fang Yi smiled, then paused and said, actually, as long as you calm down, it won't have such a big impact. The appearance of the corridor has changed. When the time comes, just go back inside, close the door, wait a few minutes before going to the toilet, and you will usually have recovered. As for the TV, although it sometimes affects sleep, and unplugging the power supply is useless, just remember to remove the key circuit boards inside before going to bed, so that it will not light up while you are asleep. As for the Shinigami wandering around the park, many gym trainers and Junsha came to check and found nothing. However, she never comes close to the apartment. Maybe she is just looking for the person who killed her. Xiaolan, Xiaolan and Sakura obviously can't understand this idea at all. If it is just some macro supernatural with psychological effects, it makes sense to comfort yourself. But, the old man. Think carefully about what you said. You are already so supernatural. How can you pretend not to see it? The hallway has changed. Just close the door and wait for a few minutes. Ghosts appear on the TV, so you should remove it while sleeping to avoid disturbing your sleep. There is a huge monster outside, but it won't come into the apartment, so it doesn't matter. Is this all human talk? I see. Okay, we'll remember it. If you have to stay one night, you guys should also remember that if you find yourself in the corridor when you get up at night. Amu said and wanted to remind Xiaolan and the others again. No, we'll just use the chamber pot in the room. You and Conan can set up the tent by yourself. Sakura said decisively. Well, Sakura has decided to isolate the two boys, Eminem and Conan, and not leave the house at night. A tent? It would be nice if Conan and I were in a separate room. Eminem said matter-of-factly. We can't separate. Sakura said sternly. Slim Shady, but I can walk around before it gets dark, right? Uncle Fangai, the situations you mentioned all happen at night. Eminem confirmed to Old Man Fangai. Yes, it was very late. Fang nodded. It's only after 4 o'clock now. Although it is winter, there is still an hour before dark. Brother, Eminem, I'm going to. Conan said decisively. It was impossible to expect Xiaolan to accompany him for a walk at this time. Then, you must remember to come back before 5 o'clock. If you don't come back at 5 o'clock, we will give up the challenge. Xiaolan emphasized at this time point. Although it was said to be very late, Xiaolan still used dark as a limit. Okay, don't worry, Eminem said, leading Conan out of the room. He first looked carefully at the mottled walls of the corridor, and then looked at the windows in the corridor facing the unfinished building next door. The changes in the TV and corridors are easy to talk about, but what's going on with the huge figure in the park? Eminem muttered at this time, and if nothing else, the one who is pretending to be a ghost should be one of the other 3 people. Why do you do this? Conan also said at this time. Let's go to the park first. Chapter 606 Investigation. Eminem and Conan then came to the park. After some searching, they found nothing special. If I must say it, this park is not as new as it looks. Walking deeper inside, you will find that branches are messy, street lights are broken, and some children's facilities are rusty. Coupled with a quiet environment, it seemed a bit strange. However, it is consistent with the fact that it has been unvisited for a long time, and lack of maintenance besides there is indeed nothing unusual. There are only some small bug and rat Pokémon living there. There are no ghost Pokémon, and there are no signs of large Pokémon activity. Eminem made a judgment point: in larger parks in the city, it is easy for small Pokémon such as insects and rats to survive, and here it has been semi-abandoned for too long, so there are naturally more small Pokémon. But there is nowhere a Pokémon that would be regarded as a 4 or 5 meter tall god of death could grow wild here. Eminem and Conan originally wanted to take a look at the unfinished building, but at this time Eminem's picture book had been bombed crazily, and several girls were urging him and Conan to go back. Reluctantly, Eminem and Conan returned to the apartment first. Although it was not yet 5 o'clock, it was already dark, because it was winter. When Eminem came back, he found that Kikuchi, who had gone out before, also happened to come back at this time. "Ah, you still here? You're quite brave." "But that's right. After all, I haven't seen those things with my own eyes yet." "Hahaha, don't be so scared that you wet your pants," Kikuchi said in a weird voice. After Yuanzi heard this in the corridor on the second floor, he couldn't help but retort, "Don't look down on people. Tonight we will decipher these legends for you." At this moment, Luyan, a graduate student on the first floor, came out of the room and frowned. "Can you guys stop making noise? You can also feel the sound insulation here. I'm writing a very important thesis. How is it possible for ghosts and things like that? Whether it's a Pokémon or a creature, the real core is gene. As long as you understand this, you will understand that ghosts don't exist in the world." Luyan looked very understanding. Eminem would like to ask, "How important is your paper? Do you want ZOAI to give you some guidance?" Wait. Eminem suddenly looked like he wanted to stop something, but he didn't have time. Just when Luyan turned to go back to the house, he saw a ghost with scalded eyes suddenly burst out from behind him. "I am so hungry, ah!" Luyan screamed and sat down directly on the ground. Then I saw this ghost shrinking and turning back into a normal sized Jenga. The scalded eyes were still the same, but now they were laughing so hard that a pickaxe came out from nowhere. At this time, he said with a straight face, "As long as you understand this, you will understand the fundamentals of the world. Ghosts don't exist." After imitating the appearance just shown, Yippigi continued to roll with laughter. Luyan, Sorry, they are so disobedient. You can't do this," Amu said as he took these two guys back into the elf balls. Since it is a haunted house, Eminem naturally brings ghosts here, and if he brings ghosts, Pippi must also follow. Originally, Ghost Stone was hiding in Eminem's shadow as usual, observing whether there were any hidden ghost Pokémon around, while Pippi had stayed in the villa to reconnaissance. Luyan's face darkened at this moment. After standing up, he slammed the door without saying a word. "So, you are a ghost type trainer. That's great. But it is said that ghost type Pokémon are the best at deceiving people. Do you think they really can't feel ghosts?" Yanshang, the supernatural and obese person, also opened the door at this time, looked at Amu who had just taken back Jenga, and said sadly, "Well, at least I agree with the first half of the sentence." Eminem rolled his eyes at him. Ghost Stone does always lie to himself. This is true. By the way, I saw Yanshang was holding a magazine on supernatural events in his hand at this time, and he must have been reading it just now. By the way, your room is on the north side, right? Have you seen that thing in the park? Amu asked as he and Kikuchi went upstairs. Both Kikuchi and Mr. Yoshiichi live on the second floor, and Kikuchi's room also has a north window. Of course, that's not any Pokémon. It feels like countless tentacles supporting the cloak, forming a monster that looks like a god of death. Kikuchi deliberately exaggerated the terrifying atmosphere. "Ah, could it be the same as Brother Eminem's Jenga? In fact, it is a ghost type Pokémon from the amorphous group that has temporarily grown in size." Conan looked like he had just thought of it. "Definitely not. Pokémon from the amorphous group can't grow that big normally, and there's also a weird light coming from under the cloak. Kikuji corrected. Eminem glanced at Conan. This possibility had been discussed by the two when they were in the park before, but they had already been rejected. At this time, Conan said it again. Was he testing Kikuji? By the way, which model shop are you from? Do you have any movable parts of Kamen Rider? Eminem suddenly asked. Kikuchi choked on the spot. How did this topic change? Too nonsensical. After a pause, Kikuchi said, we mainly assemble models. Assembled model? Can you show it to me? Amu said, and wanted to follow Kikuchi into his room, but Kikuchi obviously did not welcome him. No, I'm making models that are not for sale. Kikuchi said and closed the door, but before he closed the door, Eminem and Conan saw that there were indeed some tools on the table and some assembled models on the cabinet, but they didn't have time to take a closer look. Eminem and Conan looked at each other at this moment. It's hard to tell who is more suspicious at the moment. I hope he can come out and do some activities at night. Eminem could vaguely guess what the bloody corridor and TV ghost were about. If you dare to play this trick with yourself, Eminem will definitely expose it on the spot and follow the clues to find out who is doing it. Let's eat first. Tomoyo and I have already cooked, Sonoko said confidently at this time. Well, Sonoko and Tomoyo team up to cook, which is the same as Kaguro and Conan teaming up to solve crimes. But after looking at the room she entered, Eminem couldn't help but say, why is it number 8? This window faces the south. You can't see the park or the unfinished building, and it's close to the toilet. Here, the lighting is better. We have decided, Sakura said forcefully at this time. Eminem doesn't know why he should consider lighting when he's only staying for one night. Such a small room with so many people was still a bit crowded. At the same time, Eminem also saw that a small tent had been set up in the corner, probably for himself and Conan, and the TV. No TV. It seems to have been moved. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607 Huge Black Shadow. Eminem went out several times in the first half of the night, but even though he used the tactic of taking advantage of others and opened the door quickly, he still couldn't see the legendary bloody corridor. It wasn't until after 12 o'clock, when Yuanzi and others were already lying down on the floor, that things finally made progress. Eminem opened the door again. Unfortunately, he found nothing unusual and then went to the toilet. Just as he was about to go back to the house, he seemed to realize something when he passed by the corridor and walked towards the north corridor window. The squeaking sound of shoes on the floor on the second floor, if paired with BGM, would be a typical example of a supporting role in a horror movie. This corridor window happened to face the park, and Eminem looked at the park from this window. I saw a huge figure moving slowly in the park. Because the surroundings were dark, ordinary people couldn't see clearly. For example, Conan, who noticed Eminem walking in the corridor and followed him out, was lying on the windowsill, looking outside as well. Generally speaking, as the old man Yoshiichi said, it looks like a figure 4 to 5 meters tall wearing a black cloak, and the cloak of this figure looks like a substance that does not exist in reality, and it also looks like black. The flames are constantly shaking and fragmenting. This is Conan couldn't help, but his pupils froze. He didn't react for a moment. He could barely see the outline clearly. Even at this distance, the reason why he could see it was because there was a faint green light under the cloak, just as Kikuchi said before. What is this used for? Eminem also looked puzzled. Eminem's night vision allowed him to clearly see the true appearance of this thing, but, for a moment, Eminem didn't understand why this was the case. Why haven't you guys come back yet? What are you looking at? Yuanzi walked out at this time. She hadn't fallen asleep at all just now. She heard Eminem and Conan coming out, so she also walked over. As a result, along with Yuanzi's scream, everyone else was also awakened. What's wrong? Garden. Then, what is that? GGG, did you show up? What is it? Is it something in the park? What are you doing? My papers are all messed up. What? How is this possible? Everyone who rushed over also saw the huge figure floating in the park from the windows. Even those who had met Hoichi, Iwaneo and Kikuchi had a somewhat weak expression at this time. The reason why they didn't move away was not only because they were brave, but also because they had no money. In fact, it's not that there are no psychological fluctuations at all, he just pretends not to care. Even Yanshang, who makes money by taking these pictures, is actually quite wary of it. Point at this moment, Eminem opened the window and stepped on the window frame. Wait a minute, you don't want to find that thing, do you? Kikuchi asked stutteringly when he saw this. Well, if you leave the apartment at this time, I can only report it to the gym, and maybe your challenge will be considered a failure. Fangai said helplessly at this time. Point, it actually felt more courageous for Eminem to catch up at this time than to stay here and tremble. But Fangai didn't know if the gym would change the rules. It doesn't matter. If I catch up, I should be able to solve the incident completely. And what if it's a rare Pokémon? Eminem said very confidently. Point, hearing that Eminem also regarded this thing as a Pokémon, Ziohei, who did not want to be named, mingled among the other tenants and slightly raised his lips, and Sakura exclaimed, in horror movies, the supporting characters usually say this and chase after them, but they can't survive for 3 minutes. Well, or I'll accompany you, Sakura said hesitantly. Point, but Tomoyo said at this time, Sakura, please stay and protect us. Tomoyo had already seen something from Eminem's attitude. Point, tenants who don't know Sakura well think that Tomoyo is stopping Sakura from taking risks, but they don't realize that Sakura's true fighting power can really protect everyone. The next moment, Eminem jumped down amidst everyone's exclamations. Wait. Yuanzi wanted to stop him, but was unable to do so in time. Point, however, when Conan wanted to follow him, he was directly held down by Xiaolan. Point, at the same time, everyone saw that as Eminem ran towards the park, the huge black shadow began to move into the darker trees. Eminem also chased after me without saying a word. Yuanzi was really worried about him at this time, and began to regret recommending the haunted house challenge to Eminem. This guy is actually so brave. As Eminem left for longer and longer, Yuanzi became more and more restless. Fortunately, just over half an hour later, at almost 1 o'clock in the evening, Eminem came back from the apartment door. How are you? Are you injured? Yuanzi and the others who had been waiting for him immediately gathered around him. No injuries, but the unknown Pokémon escaped. It's a pity. Eminem looked regretful. Point, several other tenants, including Fang Yi, were also waiting for the result outside the house. When they heard what Eminem said, they were relieved. It was better than this guy just disappearing. That isn't a Pokémon at all, is it? Luan said sadly. Point, Zioai glanced at him at this time and reprimanded, whether it is a Pokémon or not must be judged by genes, not by the incredible degree. Have you learned the basics of evolution in vain? Lu Yan was startled at first, and then looked at this little girl in surprise. Point, I don't know why. When Zioai scolded him, it gave him a more oppressive feeling than being scolded by his mentor, and he was still unable to refute. But in this case, you left the apartment midway, Hoichi said with some worry. Point, Eminem just chased him out to find out the truth, not to escape. Everyone could see this, but I'm afraid the rules of Yuansu Gym will not be changed, since it doesn't matter anyway. Why don't we leave now? Xiaolan suggested at this time. Are you leaving now? Amu was still a little unconvinced after hearing this. It's not good to rest here anyway, Xiaolan suggested. I agree, Sakura said weakly. Okay, then pack your things. Upon seeing this, Eminem could only agree with regret. Point, but secretly, Eminem looked at Conan. I'm disturbing everyone today, Amu said to Mr. Fangai and other tenants. I'm quite satisfied. That thing must have been brought out by strangers like you, Yan Shang said, and touched his camera in fascination. Apparently he just recorded the video. Hahaha, if you see it, just leave. Kikuchi also laughed at this time. Point, Lu Yan didn't say anything. What just happened had a great impact on his outlook on life. At this time, Tomoyo looked at Eminem, then at Conan and Zioai, and then said, Mr. Raiwashang, can you show me what you took? Of course. Yan Shang, the supernatural fat controller, heard that a cute girl was interested and immediately started playing it on the camera again. Haha, you are so brave. Kikuchi laughed dryly. Luan didn't say a word, but he gritted his teeth and came closer. He also wanted to watch it again to see if he could discover anything, save face, and save his own outlook on life. At the same time, Eminem went back to the house to move things, while Conan left everyone's sight noisily going to the bathroom. ZioAI also took the opportunity to step back and approach Luan's room. Chapter 608 Fright. Eminem and others gave up the challenge and left the apartment at 1:30 midnight. Although there was a ghost in the park tonight, the apartment became quiet. Kikuchi saw off Eminem and others and was in a good mood. After using the restroom on the second floor, he returned to his room. As a result, as soon as he opened the door, Kikuchi saw bloody handprints printed all over the wall and some bloody handwriting that said "It's so hot, come on" and the like. Kikuchi exclaimed, sat back and fell to the ground, and then crawled away quickly. Fang Yi and others, who had not yet fallen asleep, immediately walked out again. This time, as soon as Fang opened the door, he saw Kikuchi crawling on the ground in a panic. He couldn't help but wonder, what? There is something wrong with your TV in this apartment. It is normal for the TV to have problems, but Kikuchi has always been very calm, and this is not the first time that the TV has problems, right? No, it's not TV, it's nothing. Kikuchi seemed to have thought of something and immediately stood up pretending that nothing happened. After all, the bloody handprints in the room are a supernatural phenomenon that has never happened before, and it shouldn't happen either. Yan Shang and Lu Yan also came up at this time. Yan Shang held the camera and said with some suppressed excitement, "Yes, is there anything in the room? We can go back with you and take a look." "No," I said, "it's nothing." Kikuchi became inexplicably angry. However, Fang Yi no longer regarded himself as an outsider and walked to his door. Isn't there nothing? The TV is not turned on either. By the way, you usually don't disassemble the TV when you go to bed at night. Fang Yi looked at it in confusion. There were no parts around, and the tailgate was not removed either. The complete TV that came down, even the wires were not unplugged. Kikuchi was completely furious at this time. He pushed Fang Yi away and took a look inside his room. He found that there were no traces of anything. He was worried that there was a ghost, but also worried that it was a human being. I said, "It's nothing." Taking down the TV. "Do you think I'm as timid as you guys? That's enough. Now it's all out." Kikuchi started to chase people away. But at this moment, the TV inexplicably turned on by itself and did not enter the cable signal or the internet TV interface. Instead, a woman with long hair covering her face appeared on the screen. Where is your accomplice?" The woman, whose whole body was burned, screamed on the screen. Lu Yan was startled again, while Yan Shang was so frightened that his legs went weak while he was still filming with interest. What the hell are you pretending to be? Get out, get out." Kikuchi exclaimed at first, then forced himself to scold him, and finally hurriedly released a rotom, and as soon as it came out, rushed to the TV. Fang Yi made a slightly confused voice. They didn't know before that Kikuchi also had a rotom. After Kikuchi's rotom also entered the TV, the screen immediately displayed a video of two rotoms fighting, and the original rotom inside immediately gave up and left. Seeing the rotom flying out, he rushed out of the room and flew towards the first floor. Hoichi and others quickly followed, especially Kikuchi, who immediately chased after him angrily, only to see Eminem and others then come back from the main entrance again, and that rotom also returned to Tomoyo. How did you? Fang Yi was surprised when he saw this. Damn it. What on earth are you doing? Kikuchi scolded with some sternness at this time. What did you do? The same thing as you. Eminem said matter-of-factly. Same as you? Fang Yi and others also reacted at this time and looked at Kikuchi. Nonsense. You are just like me. You are obviously pretending to be a fool. Kikuchi's voice became dry and hoarse. But when we checked before, you never said that you have rotom. Hoichi also looked at Kikuchi questioningly at this time. At the beginning, the tenants naturally suspected that someone was playing a prank, but this scene was really unexplainable, and, after checking the Pokémon on them, they found that there was no Rotom either. After Rotom completely possesses an electrical appliance, the appearance of the electrical appliance will also change, and the appearance of Rotom will appear, becoming a creature instead of a simple electrical appliance being controlled. This is the same as Polygon. The situation of Beast operating software is completely different point, but complete possession requires training. Rotom can't be possessed casually. It even requires special electrical appliances to allow Rotom to adapt. Currently, humans have mass-produced electrical appliances that can stably possess Rotom. There are only a few types. Conan's skateboard was specially invented by the doctor and is not a universal type, and when Rotom cannot completely possess it, you can activate it as before without changing the shape of the appliance, and, although you can't make the TV your own body, you can still control it a little. This is the least supernatural among the 3 supernatural phenomena. Eminem thought of it from the beginning. Wait, are you going to say those are all man-made? But there are also major changes in the corridor, and it will completely disappear in a few minutes. Yanshang said in disbelief at this time. Haha, Mr. Kikuji should have seen that, right? Amu said at this time point after hearing Eminem's words. Everyone also remembered that the first time Kikuji exclaimed was before there was a problem with the TV. Could it be that it was in his room? Kikuji was sullen and silent at this time. But how is that done? What kind of paint can disappear quickly? Fang Yi wondered at this time. It's not paint, it's venom. Eminem explained at this time. Venom? Fang Yi and others still didn't understand. The truth is very simple. First, spray a layer of isolation paint containing Tango on the painting location. I think Mr. Kikuji may have found an excuse and repainted it at the beginning, right? After that, if you use a venom to write on it, it will not be stained on the wall at all. There was no sign of corrosion on the corridor wall by the venom, but when Eminem started to check it, he keenly noticed that the color on it, if you look closely, has some ingredients of tang fruit juice. Tang fruit is a kind of tree fruit. If it is made into a potion, the most common effect is to make the Pokémon that takes it resist poison type moves. When it is restrained by poison, it can be made into isolation paint. If so, it can isolate the corrosion of toxins. Then, prepare a diluent containing peach fruit and just spray it on. The paint made from the venom will fade quickly. The effect of peach fruit is detoxification. While listening to Eminem's words, everyone also saw Rajenga running out of Kiku's room, holding some spray cans in his hand. Chapter 609. Isn't this scary? Everyone watched Jenga come out with a spray can, and based on Eminem's explanation just now, they understood what happened. As for the venom, although Jenga is a representative of the ghost type, it also includes the poison type, and some red ones are synthesized. Venom is still very simple. These spray cans should look familiar to Mr. Kikuji, right? After all, they were all obtained from Mr. Kikuji's room. Eminem added at this time, but that's not a simple graffiti. Yanshang still didn't believe it at this time. It was such a simple principle. That's right. Being able to form visual illusions through graffiti is definitely not something that ordinary poison type Pokémon can do. It's not that easy to train specifically for this, so I guess you also have a painter you guessed? Eminem speculated at this time. To Bioken. Fang Yi and Yanshang felt a little unfamiliar with this name. Luan thought of something. As a graduate student in evolution, Pokémon over there is the focus of research. Well, because it is a Pokémon from Padia, it is very rare in other places. It is a Pokémon that can use different colors of venom to paint, and with its painting, it can create illusions and lure prey into traps. Not only does the venom have a hallucinogenic effect, but he is also gifted with painting skills that can create illusions. Eminem explained. Seeing that Kikuji seemed to want to say something else, Eminem added, it doesn't matter if you don't admit it, Junsha can find out anyway. I see. So you knew from the beginning that someone did this deliberately? Fang Yi suddenly realized. Yes. So while you were sending us out and watching the previous video, we quietly went into your room and took a brief look. I'm sorry, but don't worry, except for Mr. Kikuji's room, I didn't turn around. Eminem apologized at this time. There are indeed many supernatural magazines in Brother Yanshang's room, and many of them are marked. Various supernatural locations are also marked on the map. He looks very serious. Conan said at this time point he had gone to Yanshang's room before to make sure that Yanshang's identity was as it appeared. Yanshang curled his lips and said, "Hey, there's no point in saying that, Zhao." AI said at this time, there is indeed a paper on evolution in Luan's computer. Although some data are quoted incorrectly and there are some problems with the summary of experimental results, it is in line with the normal level of a graduate student. Luan, I helped you change the data on page 17 and the table on page 27. Zhao AI added at this time, Lu Yan was about to become anxious, but he suddenly realized that these two areas were indeed the areas he had been struggling with before, and he felt there seemed to be some problems. There are many other questions, but your level, you won't be able to understand, even if I change it. Zhao AI gave another solid blow. Lu Yan didn't dare to speak for a moment. As for Mr. Kikuji, I just took a brief look at it at first. Amu said at this time point, that's right. This was how the three of them divided their labor before. As for your assembled model, not to mention modification and painting, there are no seams, no leakage lines, and even the water stickers are wrong. Most of them are plain components. There are not even sandpaper models in the house. Are you still here working in a model shop? Eminem said in succession. Kikuji, not only Kikusi, but others also didn't understand it very well. In short, they seemed to be saying that Kikusi's model was very unprofessional, so I looked around again and found a few spray cans. TSK, none of your models were spray painted, but there were spray cans. I checked the ingredients, and sure enough it just happened to have tango, peach fruit ingredients. Eminem said righteously at this time point. As for how it was detected in such a short period of time, for Eminem, a smell is enough. His nose is the detector. Nonsense. I'm a model shop for newcomers. I didn't even look at the ingredients of spray paint. I'm learning to spray paint. Kikusi defended forcefully. It is true that he did not make the spray cans himself. These two ingredients are used in spray paint and diluent due to their properties. However, Hoichi, Iwana and Rahiko looked at him questioningly, obviously not believing his explanation. I just happen to have these. Obviously they are the same things I saw in the park. Isn't it more suspicious? Kikusi was still struggling desperately at this time point hearing him talk about things in the park. Although Lu Yan still didn't believe him, he did look at Eminem curiously and said, did you also find it? That one is indeed not there yet. Amu smiled coquettishly upon hearing this. Fang Yui and others were a little disappointed when they heard this, but Kikusi became more energetic. I'm just telling you. How is that possible? What is that? Sakura exclaimed very realistically at this time point. Following Sakura's gaze, she saw a black shadow floating past outside the window point, and this dark shadow is so huge that when viewed from the entrance, it blocks all the windows on one wall, including the windows on the second floor. At the same time, it was still moving, going around the back of the building and blocking the window from the other side. Although if you look closely, there seems to be some difference, but it is indeed very similar to the things in the park, as if it is wearing a cloak, and the cloak does not seem to be physical, like the god of death. How is that possible? Kai, cough. Kikusi blurted out in surprise, then suddenly stopped. Chiang. Kai? Amu looked at him with a smile. Huh? Did you crack this too? Fang Yi realized at this time. That's right, RPO, you can stop now, Amu said, and the huge black shadow outside stopped. APO? Chais looked over doubtfully. RPO does know, but isn't it shuttlecock cotton? How could it be like this? I saw Eminem opening the window facing me at this moment. Everyone looked out the window, and they were surprised to find that this cloak was densely packed with moru moths, poisonous pink moths, ladybugs, and orb silk spiders, alidus, etc. Wait for a large number of insect type Pokémon to form, because flying insect Pokémon are constantly flapping around. It makes people feel that this cloak is not solid, as if it is constantly falling apart. As for inside, you can vaguely see a huge piece of cotton, which was obviously made by Arpilo, and I don't know why it attracted so many insect type Pokémon. Look, to put it bluntly, I'm not afraid at all. Just in the middle of Eminem's words, he heard a bang sound, and the window was closed by Tomoyo, and Tomoyo, who was not afraid of ghosts at first, now stared at him with a purple face. This is so much scarier than ghosts, right? Thinking about the dense insect type Pokémon he just saw, Tomoyo felt a physical discomfort. Chapter 610. What is this? This is shuttlecock cotton? But why are all these Pokémon gathered on it? Luan was surprised and confused. Inside this black shadow is shuttlecock cotton wrapped in thick cotton balls, and outside are various insect type Pokémon. Because the cotton ball was nearly 1 meter thick and stretched 2 to 3 meters, it looked very huge, but in fact, if you compare it carefully, you will find that it is smaller than the one you saw from a distance before. Everyone knows that shuttlecock cotton can secret cotton quickly. Although shuttlecock cotton can secret so much cotton, it is indeed rare, but it only proves the qualifications of this shuttlecock cotton. It's good, the training is in place, and it's not record breaking, so it's not shocking. But why so many insect type Pokémon gathered on it is puzzling. But Eminem, who was responsible for answering, said at this time, I'm also very confused about this. Mr. Kikuji, what exactly is this? As Eminem said, he took out a small test tube with a cork containing some kind of dust. Kikuji was silent at this time and just stared at Eminem. Seeing that Fangi and others were also confused, Amu said, I was in the park before, and I actually caught my target. Nonsense. After Eminem entered the park and was out of everyone's sight, he released Little Flash. Of course it couldn't escape. Shuttlecock cotton? Lu Yan wondered at this time. No, shuttlecock is my Pokémon. What I caught at that time was a double bomb gas in the form of Gala. Eminem explained. Gala's double bomb gas? I see. Luan had already reacted. Gala's double gas has one more fairy type than the double gas here in Chyanguan continent. It is a dual type Pokémon of poison plus fairy, and there is a raised structure on each head that looks like a chimney, so it's called Kai Kai, right? Rahiko glared at Kikuji at this moment, feeling that this guy was just causing trouble, scaring people randomly, and delaying his thesis writing. It's just that Luan wanted to emphasize how much he had delayed her, but then he thought that a little girl could give him guidance, as if this crappy paper was no big deal. I felt so guilty that I didn't dare to speak. Furthermore, Gala Double Gas is a semi-gaseous Pokémon. Although it weighs only a dozen kilograms, due to the special structure on its head, its average length is more than 3 meters. In addition, it still floats in the air, so it gathers. When it comes to insect type Pokémon, it's bigger than what Pio showed, and, just in case you can't see it, the double gas bomb also uses flash. Eminem said. The double bomb gas with dark green poisonous smoke emitting from the whole body also revealed a green light when it flashed, as for the reason why so many insect type Pokémon are attracted. That's it. This is a substance I extracted from the poisonous smoke coming out of the head of that double bomb gas. This is not double bomb gas. It will be produced by itself. So I just sprinkled some of this substance on the cotton, synthesized from shuttlecock cotton, and it had the current effect. Eminem said, shaking the small test tube in his hand. After the corner of Kikuji's mouth trembled for a while, he said angrily, as if that's enough. I just wanted to rent some cheap houses. I'll be unlucky if I'm found out. As Kikuji spoke, he stepped forward to snatch the test tube from Eminem's hand, but Eminem stepped back slightly and dodged past. I know you're anxious, but don't be anxious yet. We haven't made it clear yet. After Eminem finished speaking, Jenga and Pikaxi had already surrounded him. This is not a question of rent. Is such a big scene just for rent? Eminem said in a deep voice. Okay. Actually, someone hired me to bring down the house prices here, so that I can take over the unfinished building opposite at a low price. Kikuchi explained while staring at the things in Eminem's hand. However, Eminem no longer wanted to listen to his lies and directly exposed it. Aren't you still willing to tell the truth? Speaking of supernatural phenomena, it was probably old man Yoshiichi who first discovered that there was a will-o'-the-wisp in the building opposite, right? Kikuchi couldn't help but shrink his pupils when he heard Amu mention this matter. By the way, well, now that I think about it, that one seems to be easy to fake. Old man Fangai wanted to ask about revealing the secret at first, but after thinking about it, there was nothing to reveal. 2 Flashlights. Compared with other phenomena, will-o'-the-wisp is simply perfunctory. Indeed, it's just that I tried for several nights before someone finally saw it. Just when Kikuchi was about to speak, he was interrupted by Eminem. No, you didn't do that on purpose. On the contrary, it was that was seen by others, so you had to start pretending, right? You guys? Do you have any accomplices? Lu Yan said, looking at Yanshang aside. But he found that Yanshang was also looking at him. Don't look at it. His accomplices can't appear in front of others. After all, they are wanted criminals, especially here. At first, the wanted posters were posted everywhere, so they could only hide next door. In the unfinished building, I'm waiting for my unexposed accomplices to come and give me food and drinks. Eminem said. When Kikuchi heard this, the corners of his eyes began to tremble unconsciously, while others, besides being confused at first, also heard the implication of Eminem's words. You mean, the prisoner from 4 years ago? He's still here, and still. Yanshang said, while he was so frightened that he backed away, not caring about the video. He dared to record supernatural events or something like that, but a murderer would be too scary. After all, in this world, because of the existence of ghost-type Pokémon, there are many supernatural phenomena, but murderers are very rare. Damn it. Kikuchi's eyes looked fierce at this moment, as if he still wanted to make a desperate move. But at this moment, the siren sounded. You can try to see if you can break through, Eminem said, and released Leoben again. Although Leoben's combat power is actually not as strong as Ghost Stone and Pippi due to his insufficient level, but in terms of size and pressure, Bankulus is much stronger than Jenga and Pixie. Damn it, you have no idea what you did. Kikuchi stared at Eminem with red eyes. This attitude even made Eminem wonder, what did I do? The murderer was caught. Yumi soon opened the door and walked in. Although this was not a matter related to the Dark Organization, after receiving Eminem's information, she still brought the head of the criminal department with her. After all, this was also a major case that year, and it had been pending for 4 years. When Yumi came in, she saw Eminem shaking the test tube in his hand and quickly took it nervously. This is not for children to play with. It seemed that her attitude was more cautious than towards the prisoner. Kikuchi. Chapter 611. The First Fire. Okay, this guy's accomplice has also been arrested and brought to justice. Yumi also breathed a sigh of relief at this time. Junsha didn't just arrive, it was just the large army that started to sound the whistle. In fact, Yumi and some elites, as well as people from the nearby police station, arrived earlier and sealed off the unfinished building. In advance. The large army had just arrived, and they rushed into the unfinished building together. After all, considering that the unfinished building has no roof and no sealed windows, it would be too easy to escape, as long as there are flying Pokémon. Even if there are no flying Pokémon, this floor is full of gaps that can be climbed. By this time, many people had arrived, so they rushed in together and captured the wanted criminal. As for the double bomb gas that Eminem had caught before, because it was someone else's Pokémon, it naturally couldn't be collected into the Pokéball. It was only after Yumi came to take care of it. Minister Yumi, there is a Gala from the Alala region here. It doesn't seem to belong to a prisoner. At this time, Jansa came over to report. Alala's Gala. Let me take a look. Don't be afraid, little guy, Yumi said, using the power of Junsha to communicate with the Gala. Different from the Gala in the Xianguan continent, the Gala in the Alala region has a dual element of fire plus ghost. Not only is the body a dark purple color with a very ghost-like feel, but the bones in the hand are also burning with miserable green flames at both ends, generally speaking. Wild gala galas will not appear in Chyanguan continent for no reason, unless someone directly releases them, or, under the inducement of other conditions, there is a very small chance that they will evolve. Yes, it is indeed a wild Pokémon. Yumi confirmed. Then Yumi looked at the unfinished building in the park, and then wondered, but Yuansu Gym is not. Forget it, Yumi. Also felt a little strange. Didn't the people from Enju Gym come to see it before, and didn't find any signs of ghost type Pokémon around? Could it be? Is it because the people at Yuansu Gym did not check carefully, or did this Gala Gala just come here recently? However, the case has been solved, and Yumi didn't think much about it. It was just the Minister of Criminal Affairs who came with him. A male Junsha who didn't seem to be from the Junsha clan seemed to have thought of something at this time. He took out his laptop and searched for the records of that year. File. It turns out, the Pokémon that the woman who was murdered back then carried with her was a Karakara. Could it be that? The criminal minister looked at the Gala Gala with some speculation. Karakara is the unevolved form of Gala Gala, and even in Alala, Karakara is the same form as here in Chyanguan continent. Eminem said at the site. According to legend, the reason why the Gala Galas in the Alala region have different forms is because their companions have a closer relationship. Among the Gala Gala tribe, there is mourning, the behavior of companions, and it was initially during the mourning ceremony that the power of the soul was inherited from deceased relatives and companions, so the bone stick in the hand was ignited and evolved from the ground element to the fire element plus ghost element at the same time, because in the Alala region, where Gula Gula lives, grass type Pokémon are very strong, and those with fire type will have stronger resource competitiveness, so gradually Alala Gala Gala is now look like you mean. Yumi looked at the rattle in surprise. Could it be that it gained power from its deceased trainer and evolved into the form of the Alala region? It's not impossible. Amu nodded. Normally speaking, since the evolved form has been stable, then Alala Gala Gala, as long as it evolves normally, it will be in this form and does not require any rituals. If this traceability is correct, then in theory, it is entirely possible for the Karakara of the Chyanguan continent to evolve into this form during the mourning and grief. And Eminem looked at the burning bone stick of Gala Gala at this time. The reason why it is here is probably not a coincidence, or even, not only because of Lion's and trainer, but also for revenge. Eminem remembers that when old man Yoshiichi described seeing a will-o'-the-wisp for the first time, he said, the dark green will-o'-the-wisp is like the eyes of something. That is to say, should it be two dark green flames, the various strange lights seen later were probably the light of the TV or other electrical appliances that the murderer accidentally exposed while living, and the will-o'-the-wisp at the beginning. Now it seems that it is probably the real will-o'-the-wisp, the fire of vengeance of Alala Gala Gala. With its tireless efforts, the prisoner was finally discovered, forcing the prisoner to completely pretend and try to clean up the apartment next to him. Until now, Eminem exposed him, and both of them were arrested. As for the wild issue, if the Pokeball was released not long ago, the power of Junsha will be able to detect it, but if it is more than 3 years old, there will basically be no aura left, and it will look wild, no matter how you look at it. On the contrary, when UNZHU Gym came to inspect it 3 years ago, it did not have much scent of wild Pokémon. And it still retained the habits of living with humans, so naturally there would be no wild ghost type treasure left behind. Traces of Kemen's survival. Gala, I will send you to a place with many companions later, okay? Yumi squatted down at this time and asked Gala nodded. Then Yumi said to her subordinate Junsha, go and find out where the girl who was killed back then is buried, and then send her there for release. Generally, there will be ghost type Pokémon living in cemeteries. After the Minister of Criminal Affairs was handed over by the United States, he led other Junsha to gather the team. Normally it should be a matter for their department. Originally, he thought that Yumi rose up through merit and luck. He did not question Yumi's courage and character, but he questioned her ability. Now that Yumi has solved major and mysterious cases one after another, he is also impressed. Seeing that the others had left, Eminem couldn't help but ask Yumi, what on earth did you just take away? How could you attract so many insect type Pokémon? Just. Now Yumi looked like she wanted to keep it a secret, and there were too many people around, so Eminem didn't ask. But now that there is no other Junsha here, it's just her and herself, there's no need to keep it a secret, right? Hearing this, Yumi rolled her eyes at Eminem and said, I shouldn't have told you, but since your teacher is Dr. Jumu, he will know it sooner or later, right? Well, don't worry. I understand. If I leak anything in the future, I will say that teacher Jumu told me. Eminem agreed politely. Sneeze. Sorry. I seem to have caught a cold recently. Jumu said apologetically to the little bad bear. The sudden sneeze just now hit the face of the little bad bear who was undergoing examination. Chapter 612 The Ultimate Beast. You must have heard of the Ultimate Beast, right? Yumi said at this time point. After hearing this, Eminem nodded quickly. Point after Eminem traveled through time and gained access to the network. He searched for ultimate beasts in order to confirm the status of Pokémon in this world. Point however, it was discovered that not only was the ultimate beast not recorded in the illustrated book, but also, it was both similar and opposite to the treatment of the mythical beast. Point similarly, the information slightly revealed online is also very different from the original work. On the contrary, in this world, the ultimate beasts are clearly regarded as extremely harmful creatures, not just fear of the unknown, but real violent conflicts with humans and Pokémon, and the conflicts still continue to this day. Point once news of ultimate beasts appears somewhere, it often means battle and death, not only in the Alola region, but also in Hezu, Kalos, Galar and other places. They also appear occasionally, and the way they appear is very mysterious. There are even rumors on the internet that they have traveled from another space, right? Most ordinary people scoff at this, but Eminem believes it. Point the information about ultimate beasts is undoubtedly very sensitive, and it is not widely circulated on the internet. The only official information available is to tell people to report to the king and rescue immediately after discovering it. Eminem and the people around him are not very familiar with ultimate alien beasts, mainly because for some reason, ultimate alien beasts do not appear in Chyanguan continent. Point therefore, the three major alliances in the Chyanguan continent, the Quartz Alliance, the Sinnoh Alliance, and the Hone Alliance, have the strongest control over the ultimate beasts. A very small number of ultimate alien beasts will also become companions of humans through some special methods, but Chyanguan continent prohibits anyone from bringing ultimate alien beasts into the country, including anything related to ultimate alien beasts. All things are also prohibited. Point in the Alola region, there are organizations obsessed with developing devices that allow humans to borrow the power of Pokémon. In the Unova region, various combat devices are developed. In the Galar region, there are wizards walking secretly, and they are all related to fighting the ultimate beasts. Related. Point Yumi said at this time, this thing is a substance collected from Sub-Zero to Beauty. It can attract specific types of Pokémon and put them into a state similar to hypnosis. It's actually from the ultimate beast, Eminem said in surprise. Point as for Sub-Zero to Beauty, if Eminem remembers correctly, it should be the Phylome Mantis, but the ultimate beasts in this world, at least in the public communication, only have some code names. Point Eminem remembers that the characteristic of pheromones is that they emit special pheromones that make other creatures addicted. It makes sense that this thing comes from pheromones, because the elusive ultimate beast will never come to Chyanguan continent, so this is the first time for Eminem to come into contact with related things, so there should be a big case behind this. Yumi just finished emphasizing, and immediately said, but it has nothing to do with you, and this should not be spread outside. There won't be any big conspiracy to attract the ultimate beast to attack me, right? Eminem suddenly looked scared. Point hearing this, Yumi was stunned and said, huh, that's not possible. So far, the three major alliances in the Crown continent have not had any record of the appearance of ultimate beasts or attacks on humans or Pokémon. This kind of contraband smuggling case, it does appear from time to time, especially in the Johto area. Cough. Yumi didn't finish her words. It seemed that there was still some major case hidden in the Johto area, but the implication was that she obviously didn't think that Eminem would be the first person to be attacked by the ultimate alien beast in Chyanguan continent. There is no guarantee that there is no chance It is said on the internet that there is a kind of ball that is specially designed to deal with the ultimate beast, right? Eminem took the opportunity to say point. However, Yumi curled her lips and said, "Don't dream. It is very rare in Alala and not open to the public. The three alliances in Chyanguan continent should not have such a thing at all." Eminem was not very disappointed. Instead, he thought that when he saw Mr. Jumu after the new year, he could ask him if he had any point. If there isn't even the Giant Tree Research Institute, then there really isn't one in the entire Chyanguan continent. It was already past 2 o'clock in the middle of the night when Yumi left. Eminem looked at the time and suggested, "How about taking a rest in the remaining rooms in the apartment tonight? Anyway, it has been proven that those hauntings are all fake." No, anyway, the challenge must have been passed. Might as well go back to the Pokémon Center. "You can put your luggage here first." Eminem's proposal was easily opposed by everyone. Everyone would rather go back to the Pokémon Center and have a good rest, even if it is already 3 o'clock in the morning when they arrived. At this time, Yuanzi had not forgotten Eminem's promise. "Let's go directly after lunch tomorrow." Huh? Oh. Eminem was stunned for a moment and then realized what Yuanzi was talking about. It is said to be tomorrow, but in fact it is already today. On December 12th, there will be a 3-day Kamen Rider Carnival in Enju City. Yuanzi mistakenly thought that Eminem was here for this and even bought a ticket. And you, kid, don't call your sisters Iadelan because you are too excited in the morning. Yuanzi also warned Conan. In order not to reveal his identity, Conan had to pretend that he really liked Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider is a tokusatsu drama filmed in the Alala region because the previous incident of mysterious substances suspected to come from filamentids also reminded Eminem of another incident. The Kamen Rider in the Alala region is not a random shot. It is rumored that there is really an organization developing a similar device, using something similar to a belt, to combine the power of Pokémon with humans. It is said that it has also achieved certain results. A technological breakthrough. The next morning, Eminem woke up after a 4-hour nap. This sleep time was enough for Eminem. So, while going to the Pokémon Center restaurant for breakfast, Eminem also checked out the information about this carnival. Result: I wouldn't know it unless you looked it up, but it turns out that there is a special Pokémon competition at this carnival. Big monster collaboration, monster qualifying competition. Eminem looked at the information in the illustrated book. This Kamen Rider Carnival is also linked with another big monster series in the Galar region, Kamen Rider vs Big Monster. During the carnival, a small-scale monster cup will also be held. The requirements for participation are below level 80 and 3 Pokémon from the Monster Egg group. From the perspective of Pokémon battle, it is a village competition that cannot be replaced by village. It is not recognized anywhere, and the prizes are mediocre. However, Pokémon that perform well will have the opportunity to play a small role in the show later, and even have a chance to become a starring Pokémon. Chapter 613 Registration and Chance Encounter. Alliance 200, December 12th, 1 p.m. Eminem, Sonoko, Xiaolan, and Conan came to them. Asked Superman Carnival. Tomoyo didn't know about this itinerary before, and Sonoko didn't bring her ticket, so Amu probably wouldn't want to come. She must be a magical girl. As for Xiaoai, naturally, he pretended to be a girl who doesn't like Kamen Rider and successfully avoided this catastrophe. Not so with Conan. How could there be a boy who doesn't like Kamen Rider unless he's a perverted high school student pretending to be one? We slept together and took a shower together. What else do you want to say? At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there is a reality show. Ours is a package ticket. Before that, you can go shopping. By the way, Eminem, do you want to sign up for the Monster Cup? Yuanzi asked Eminem at this time. Yuanzi didn't remind Eminem before about any projects. After all, in her opinion, Eminem should be more familiar with it than she is. Well, let's give it a try. Eminem nodded and agreed. The small village competition of this Monster Cup only requires Monster Egg group below level 80 and 3 and does not limit the area to be conquered. The reason for limiting the egg group is obviously related to rewards. To put it bluntly, it is an audition for a supporting role. Below Level 80 inches is also to limit the combat effectiveness, otherwise it will be a king level one-on-one roll, and the human actors in the opposite scenes may not be able to handle it. After all, this is different from ordinary coordinators making movies. If it is an actor in a professional Pokémon action movie, it must be the actor's own Pokémon, acting opposite him, his own Pokémon, and the bond level is high enough. A few skills only look fierce, but in fact they are not a big problem. But the Pokémon selected here will stay with the crew for a certain period of time, but Eminem will not go, which is equivalent to using the crew as a special nurturing house to store them. Eminem's monster egg set Pokémon are quite sufficient in number. Bulbasaur, Nidoking, Super Armor Rhinoceros and Bankulus are all monster egg set. In addition, Pokémon that have been transformed into the monster egg group from Digit can also participate, but Coffin is still playing basketball, so he definitely has no interest in becoming an actor. In the morning, Eminem moved all 4 of them to his side and asked them for their opinions. Arduin was not interested at all, and Amu felt that he was going to be useless at the Iron Armored Rhino Ranch, not to mention that his level has not improved much, and he still looks a little low on energy. Of course, Eminem didn't interfere too much with his own choice of a life of liquor and luxury. He also told the Armored Rhino Ranch that he didn't need to talk to himself about accidental pairing and the like. After filling it with a bottle of tonic, Amu replaced it again. Our lion is slightly moved. Seeing that Aswan seemed interested, Nido naturally followed suit. Otherwise, what if Aswan is on the set and gets hooked up with other little monsters? On the contrary, the most monster Leoben has an all or nothing attitude. Bankulus, who is a big hit in this aspect of the drama and looks very monster. The most popular monster Godzilla is based on Bankula. It's just that in ordinary small production dramas, monsters like Bangulus are all actors in leather suits. After all, quasi-gods are not that common, and the price of quasi-gods coordinator actors is not affordable. Seeing that Eminem could get 3 together, he also prepared to participate. Before the reality show, Eminem first went to them, asked Superman Carnival Monster Cup registration point. To register, the registration site is quite popular. After all, there are many fans of Kamen Rider and Big Monster. And Monster is also a relatively popular Pokémon egg set. In addition to attributes, egg set is the second most important training teacher classification method. After all, many skills are also related to body posture, and body posture is closely related to egg group. But looking at it, Eminem feels that he can shine proudly in the village competition. At first glance, the contestants are all amateurs. In addition, considering the restrictions of the competition, Eminem should basically be the top among the contestants, not to mention other contestants. Most of them are interested in participating, and the rules of this competition are below level 80 by the time of the Kanto rookie competition. Agarian and Nido should be able to advance to level 80, but now, they are just stuck within the prescribed range point. Although Leoben is not yet at level 60, he is a quasi-divine beast after all, and his combat power is at the level of a quasi-king. Anyone below level 80 will basically be worthy of any chance. It is estimated that during the game, Eminem was basically treated like Badger in the last Kanto rookie competition. He was basically crushed in every game. The rules are also very simple, with a limit of 3 Pokémon. However, in the qualifying stage, only 1 appears in each game, and the order is fixed. That is, Pokémon number 1 in the first game, Pokémon number 2 in the second game, and Pokémon number 3 in the third game. Number 3, then number 4, then number 1, in order. The qualifying stage is based on points system, and unlike ordinary Pokémon duels, there is a special restriction. That is, the trainer cannot direct it. It all depends on the Pokémon's own performance. This is also to screen out Pokémon with relatively high independent initiative. If a trainer is to be present to coach the performance, then a coordinator is basically needed. Let's go. Let's go to the performance place. It should be almost time to get there. Yuanzi urged after Eminem signed up. The schedule of the competition is also very short. The top 8 will be determined in the preliminary round tomorrow, and the final will be played at the closing ceremony the day after tomorrow. In the final, all 3 Pokémon will play, using the 3 vs 3 singles rule. Eminem and his party arrived at the performance, and heard a familiar voice. Wow. It's Kamen Rider. Heiji, hurry up, take a picture for me. I saw a girl with a ponytail asking her a Lola companion to take a photo of her. Huh. That's not Sonoko. And Xiaolin recognized them and saw that Heiji and Kazuha were also here, and at this time Kazuha was looking excitedly at several actors in leather suits who were about to take the stage. Eminem was puzzled when he saw this. When he was in Golden City before, Kazuha didn't seem to like Kamen Rider so much, right? Xiaolin shouted from a distance. Xiaolin? Yuanzi? He heard someone calling him, turned around quickly, and then waved his hand point and the Alola man next to him. If you look carefully, it's Heiji who has too dark skin. Seeing Kazuha talking excitedly to Xiaolin and Sonoko, Amu and Conan also curiously asked Heiji, hey, this woman, she started paying attention to Kamen Rider after last time, and somehow she became obsessed with it. Heiji said in a disdainful tone. Speaking of, have you told Kazuha about your first love? Conan asked deliberately point with his insight. He could certainly see that there was no substantial progress in the relationship between Heiji and Kazuha. What first love? Children are just ignorant. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 614 Abnormality. That's not what you said when you thought it was that geisha girl. Eminem complained decisively. Speaking of which, Hey suddenly became interested in Kamen Rider. Was it after last time? That is, after that time in Golden City. After hearing that you liked Kamen Rider, hey just are you starting to pay attention? Conan said very clearly point. When Heiji heard this, his face turned dark and red, and he muttered, what are you talking about? I don't even know. At this time, Eminem deliberately made a sudden realization look and said, I see. That must be because you saw that I have the belt of Kamen Rider, so you paid attention to me, right? It turns out that Hey pays so much attention to me. You are ugly, but you think you are beautiful. It's obviously because after Heiji interrupted Amu, he hesitated to continue point. Seeing this guy's nagging look, Eminem and Conan, two decisive men, were unwilling to talk to him point. Soon it was time for the official performance to begin. Because we didn't buy the tickets together, the seats were not next to each other, but fortunately the distance was not very far. Heiji and Kazuha were only a few rows in front of Eminem and others. Children's tickets come with the adults tickets and there is no separate place, so he became Eminem and Heiji, taking Conan to sit in the front seat, and the three girls sat together. Conan, whose lap do you want to sit on? Eminem said, patting his thigh and letting him choose. Thank you. I just squeeze it. Conan rolled his eyes. Soon the performance started, and Eminem also watched it with great interest, because it was a live performance on the stage, and the expressiveness of the plot was completely different from the TV video. Eminem also found it very novel point. In fact, Eminem is not that interested in Kamen Rider. He only watched a few of them before time travel, and after time travel, the plots are also different. Each one is related to Pokémon and revolves around humans possess some of the power of Pokémon to unfold. In the Golden City before, the reason why Eminem bought a belt was because Eminem didn't have the chance to buy it before traveling through time, so he had the luxury and experience it after seeing it point put together with Conan and Heiji. Eminem is the only one who can see it, and these two guys just couldn't stand such childish things, so they were still whispering to the side. Huh. Look at the fourth audience member from the left in the third row. I guess he must be a doctor. Haha, look at the woman behind him. She should be a cello player. The one in black clothes and hat is the plainclothes Junsha at the scene, right? Ah. The girl with the red headband in the middle of the second row, she must have a savarang. Next to me is the flight trainer. The two people deduced their identities, occupations, and even Pokémon from each person's habits or other clues. Slim Shady, if you guys talk about adult male topics, I won't tolerate it. Can you stop showing off your observation skills? Eminem said speechlessly. Conan and Hepping laughed after hearing this, but at this moment, Conan was suddenly startled and then said, Heiji. Something seems to have happened. Well, the staff outside the venue are obviously anxious. Look, that plainclothes Junsha has passed too. Slim. Shady. What are you looking at? It's all your fault for looking indiscriminately. How can this not kill anyone? Eminem rolled his eyes. Let's go. Let's go take a look too. Heiji said, already standing up. Heiji. Kazai looked at Heiji, who stood up from behind with confusion. Whoever wants to go can go. Don't get in the way of me and the audience behind me. Eminem said angrily. Heiji and Conan ignored this unambitious guy. How come Conan? Xiaolan couldn't help but become confused when she saw Conan and Heiji suddenly leaving. However, Heiji finally followed and Xiaolan was not too anxious. Upon seeing this, Sonoko said, I'll ask Eminem. Then he started texting. Eminem also immediately responded to the message. They discussed it for a while, and then the female musician and female fighting trainer in the front row left mysteriously. Yuanzi was stunned when he saw this. How's it going? Seeing this, Xiaolan and Hei quickly came over to take a look. Xiaolan, hey, it must be Conan. This kid is disobedient. Hehe. Xiaolan laughed dryly. Damn it. This guy Heiji, he's just, that's all. He's even bringing up a child. Kazai's eyes were already on fire. With two people missing next to him, Eminem sat loosely in his seat and continued to watch the show. But the two guys didn't come back until the end of the show. When the show was over, Yuanzi and the other two people also walked over in confusion. They didn't see them trying to strike up a conversation. Where were they? I think they went backstage. Shall we go look for it? Xiaolan became a little worried. Let's go. Eminem said and walked backstage. Of course, a staff member stopped him. Wait a minute, sir. It's not open to tourists. Why? Is Junsha here? Amu looked inside through the staff. This is not convenient to reveal. The staff has basically determined that this guy is a kind of unqualified tourist. Hey, who is that? Me. At this moment, Eminem suddenly saw a familiar Junsha and waved to him. Of course, Eminem wasn't sure whether he knew this guy. After all, he couldn't remember his appearance very well, but since he looked vaguely familiar, he might have met him recently. Huh? Mr. Amu? Are you looking for Minister Yumi? The other party really recognized Amu. In fact, he was the one who sent Gula Gula away yesterday. Naturally, he still has an impression of Minister Yumi's acquaintance, although he is not from the police department. But the police department is responsible for Junsha's internal affairs. This is a department that old Junsha cares about. Yumi is here too? Amu was surprised when he heard this. Why does the head of the police department look like the criminal department? Well, Minister Yumi recently focused on inspecting the criminal department. Junsha, a passerby, said, and had someone let Amu and others in yesterday. Eminem discovered that Yumi is indeed mysterious, especially after discovering the mysterious substance produced from Sub-Zero Beauty. There is another dark-skinned guy coming in with a kid, right? Eminem asked as he came in. Indeed, he seems to be Minister Yumi's cousin. Junsha, a passerby, nodded immediately. As for what happened, Eminem wasn't very interested and just brought Xiaolan and the others in to find someone. But Eminem, you're here just in time. Have you brought Bankalas? Yumi happened to come over at this time. When she saw Eminem, her eyes lit up and she immediately greeted him. Chapter 615 Situation. What do you want Bankalas for? I have a competition tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Eminem immediately asked warily, competition? It can't be the Monster Cup, right? Are you interested in this kind of village competition? Yumi said in surprise when she heard this. Eminem saw that the staff on the side looked embarrassed, so he coughed twice and reminded Yumi, ahem. At this time, next to Yumi, there was another person with a staff sign, who should be a staff member at the carnival. Okay, we can't delay tomorrow's game. And can tomorrow's game continue? Your producer has already. Yumi looked at the staff aside curiously. No, the competition will still continue. Although Mr. Kungjin has, but our Kungjin team still has Mr. Yoshito and Mr. June. I believe that it will reopen soon, and Kamen Rider there are many production teams, and originally this competition was not our team's project. We were only responsible for this performance. The staff said at this time. Eminem also heard it at this time, seeing that Conan and EG hadn't shown up for so long. Eminem already had a vague hunch that someone had indeed died, and judging by this, the victim was the producer responsible for the carnival. However, the monster Pokémon selected in the competition will then compete with the events of other groups, so the competition will continue. That is to say, it has nothing to do with Eminem. Anyway, Conan and EG are both here this time, so you don't have to worry about solving the case. Conan is also with EG, so you don't have to worry about a child being difficult to move, and it has nothing to do with the cloakard or anything like that, and it doesn't threaten Eminem or the people around him. Safety of people. Eminem decided to prepare well for the game and leave it to the detectives to solve the case. But now Yumi definitely wants to borrow Eminem's bankalus, saying that there is no danger. Just a little experiment. What happened? Amu asked doubtfully. Yumi explained at this time. One of the producers of Kamen Rider, Mr. Koto, was just killed. The person who killed him was undoubtedly Bankalus, who was fostered in the crew, but there's something strange about that Bankalus according to other people's testimonies. There was nothing unusual about it before. Although its temper was a bit irritable, it was only as good as a normal Bankalus. I did a preliminary inspection and found that it might have been affected by some special substance, so it suddenly went crazy. In fact, it doesn't even remember what it did before. Later, I also found something at the scene. What? You want to use my Bankalus for this kind of experiment? Amu asked unhappily. Hearing this, Yumi rolled her eyes at him and said, of course it's not direct contact. I just tried it with Hajin. Evil type Pokémon will have some reaction to that thing, but, at present, it can't be achieved. It makes a Pokémon go crazy suddenly. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on it, and won't let Bankalus come into direct contact with it. What exactly is it? Amu had already made a guess after hearing this, knowing that Eminem would definitely not borrow it without asking clearly. Yumi glanced at the staff aside, and warned him not to eavesdrop. Then she hooked Eminem's neck and said, it's similar to what you gave me last night, but not. The staff on the side still heard some things, and they couldn't help but be surprised. Last night, you still used such strong things? What activity is so exciting? Eminem's face froze when he heard this. He probably guessed it just now. Only what happened to Yuansu City? Amu said in confusion. In Xianguan continent, no matter which one of the three major alliances you belong to, smuggling ultimate beast related materials is a felony. After all, only the Xianguan continent, where ultimate beasts would not appear directly, could completely ban this kind of thing. Otherwise, why do you think I came to the police department? Yumi held her head up even more at this time. Eminem also realized at this time that, although Yumi held two positions, one overt and one covert, and also had tasks related to the Flash team, she was mainly the Ensu regional police chief, which means the Quartz Junsha headquarters suspects that Junsha in the Yuansu area is involved in smuggling ultimate beast materials. Eminem confirmed in a low voice. Hearing this, Yumi couldn't help but stiffen. Did I show it so obviously? Ahem. Pretend I didn't hear it. Seeing this reaction, Eminem basically understood. It's no wonder that Yumi, a police minister, always runs to crime scenes. Okay, I'll let you try it out, but I must be there too. Eminem emphasized. Now that he knows what it is, Eminem is not as worried as before. Yesterday's Up-Zero 2 beauty pheromones condenser did not have a long-lasting effect. Those wild insect type Pokémon that are attracted will soon regain consciousness after they are no longer attracted. Otherwise, Eminem wouldn't use that to demonstrate. It sounds like the Bankalus on the set has recovered now as well. Of course, this time it is not the same thing, but Yumi suspects that it is also related to the Ultimate Beast, and it is most likely from the Ultimate Beast codenamed Up-Zero 5, Big Stomach King. It's just that we have to try it again to see how effective this thing is, so that we can be completely sure of the murderer's modus operandi. Eminem followed Yumi an came to a breeding area in a simulated environment. Only Junsha was there at this time, and there were no other Pokémon. The non-actor Pokémon carried by the crew are usually like this, and they will also have a small mimic environment. But the conditions are definitely worse than a normal nurturing house. Is this the crime scene? Eminem didn't see Hiji and Conan, so they probably had already looked for other clues. Yes, the victim was here, and while using his mobile phone, he was attacked by Bankulus, who suddenly went crazy. Yumi said, "The Bankulus is no longer here," but Yumi pointed to a small pool of marks on the ground and said, "This is it. I suspect it is the saliva secreted by UP05, Big Eater, and it is the same as the UP02 inches I saw before." Beautiful. The pheromones are similar, and usually affect different Pokémon depending on what they eat. Eminem has seen it before. The tube last night is only effective on insect-type Pokémon. It is said that UP02, Beauty, secretes different pheromones, which affect different Pokémon. As for UP05, the Big Eater, Eminem guesses that it is the saliva of the eating king. According to Yumi, does it affect different Pokémon depending on what they eat? At this time, under the command of Yumi, Amu released Leoban at a far distance and communicated with it first, telling it the current situation. Ban. Leoban looked very conceited, as if he was saying that he would not be affected. Later, under the command of Eminem, Leoban gradually approached the location of the mark. Chapter 616 Experiment and Pleading. At the carnival site, in the mimetic environment that had been blocked by the Junshus, Leoban kept maintaining his animal senses with Eminem while approaching the small pool of mysterious liquid which had actually penetrated into the land. Yumi also said, no matter how bad it is, it has little effect. That's why Yumi hurriedly asked for help when she saw Eminem, instead of waiting for Junsha to transfer Bangerous from other places. Sure enough, after getting closer, Leoban's eyes began to turn slightly red and his breathing became violent. The surrounding Junsha were also a little more alert at this time. After all, if a Qua-seeking level Bangerous went crazy, they would have to be careful to suppress it. But just when Yumi was ready to ask Eminem to stop Bangerous from approaching, although Bangerous looked like he was about to lose his strength, he came closer step by step, and even finally bent down at a close distance, and took a little sniff. Isn't it that effective? Is it actually a cover-up used by the murderer, or It's clear that Eminem's Bangerous has been, from the very beginning. At this moment, Yumi suddenly noticed that Eminem was always raising one hand, with the palm still facing his Bangerous, and his eyes were still closed at this time. Yumi, Amu, are you using your special ability to soothe it in real time? Right? You can take the ability off for a while. Nothing can be done this way. Bankulus, who suddenly went crazy, has no special ability to comfort him. Yumi said helplessly. At this moment, Bankulus suddenly raised his head and glanced at Yumi. For some reason, Yumi even had the feeling that Eminem was watching her. The next moment, Bankulus was seen staggering away, and then Eminem opened his eyes without waiting for Yumi to say anything. Eminem spoke first. No need to try. If only Leoban was here just now, he would be completely in a trance when he got close to 1 meter. If he came into direct contact, his sanity would definitely be completely suppressed. Yumi has seen Eminem's abilities many times, so she didn't ask any more questions, but directly accepted Eminem's judgment. This is indeed the case. It was because Eminem was completely synchronized just now and almost personally controlled Leoban's activities. This way, while being affected in all aspects of his body, he also maintained his sanity. After all, this influence comes from the physical level, will not be transmitted to Eminem at all. It seems that my previous speculation was correct. The murderer was here, spraying the saliva of UP05, Big Eater, on the Bankulus, and then used it to attack the distracted victim. The victim did not expect it either. Will be attacked by Bankulus. He was operating his cell phone before he died, and did not pay attention to his surroundings. Yumi was determined at this time. Immediately seeing Junsha's embarrassed expressions around him, Yumi suddenly changed her words. Ahem. You guessed it right. Continue. Continue. In theory, Yumi is investigating. After all, she is not from the criminal department. It's none of my business. Can I take the first step? Amu said to Yumi, after glancing at Yuan Zi and Xiaolan on the sidelines. Well, I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Yumi said cheerfully. I'll definitely do it next time. I'll be with my friends tonight. Eminem refused for the time being. Then, let's get together. It won't be after dinner in the evening. If you want to take a girl with you, then let's do it next time. Yumi showed a strange expression at this time. Then, let's go together. But they won't drink with you. Amu immediately corrected her. It sounds like you drank it sometime. Just wait for my message. Enzu City has golden yaki. That is very authentic. Yumi said and waved her hand point seeing Eminem coming over. Yuanzi asked worriedly, is it over? Something serious happened. Yeah, but Junsha is already taking care of it. Amu didn't say much. Where's Conan and Hiji? Xiaolan asked quickly. It seems they are looking for other clues. Eminem said, the scene that they had to experiment on before should be the crime method they thought of, and Yumi was just to verify whether it could be realized. It's true. Conan is causing trouble again. Xiaolan said helplessly. No. Need to wait for Kazuha. She's going to find Hiji. Seeing that Amu didn't move, Sonoko took the initiative and said point at first. Eminem thought she had gone to the bathroom, so he didn't take the initiative to ask. Hearing this, he said directly, then let's go to other projects. By the way, Yumi is going to treat me tonight. I'll send a message to Zao AI first and let her have dinner. Together with Tomoyo and the others. Why didn't you call them all? Yuanzi was not afraid of Yumi's pain. Zao AI doesn't like golden roasting. Just as Eminem, Yuanzi, and Xiaolan were leaving the mimic environment, a staff member came up to them and said, is this Mr. Eminem? Hello, I'm Ui from the Gangren group, and this is my business card. This male staff member looks to be under 30 years old. He has long hair that is parted in the middle and does not reach his shoulders. His forehead is exposed. Eminem looked at this hairstyle and confirmed that the person next to Yumi just now was him. Hello, what's the matter? Eminem asked doubtfully, not understanding what he was looking for. Do you have a bankerless? If it's convenient, can you give us a performance at 5 o'clock? Of course, it will be paid. Uia begged. You from the Gongren group. Can your show continue? If Eminem remembers correctly, the one who died was the Gongren. That is, the core of the Gongren group. If we can't find a possible replacement for Bankerus, we really have no choice but to cancel it. However, this is also Mr. Gongren's last work. I still hope that the performance can be successful. Uia said honestly. The banjalist that was originally performing was obviously unable to perform. Although it was affected by the saliva of Up-05, Big Eater, and could not remember what happened before, it still required a long period of psychological counseling. Recover. As a quasi-divine beast, Banguilus is very rare even in the Johto area. Just now, when Ui heard that Yumi said that Eminem had a Banguirus, she was secretly interested in it and followed her all the way over, waiting outside. Eminem came out and immediately came forward to communicate. 5 to 6. If you just want to help, it's not impossible, but my Bankerless has never studied acting, and it's too late to read the script now, right? Eminem looked at it. The time is almost 4:30. It doesn't matter. It's just a trailer linked to Big Monster. There isn't much plot. Just pretend to be an angry big monster and walk a few steps forward. Just leave the rest to us. Uia said when she saw Amu. Explained immediately. Then, Amu looked at Yuanzi and Xiaolan and saw that they were also very interested, especially Yuanzi, so he said, let's give it a try. I can only tell Leoben that he will not hurt anyone. It's hard to say anything else. Thank you very much. Uia looked very grateful. Eminem, Sonoko and Xiaolan followed Uia to the place where the next performance was previewed. Anyway, based on Eminem's understanding of Yumi, dinner must be after 8 o'clock. Chapter 617 Repentance. When Leoben heard that he was going to perform, he suddenly looked pediatric and so childish, but with Eminem's comfort, he reluctantly cooperated. As Uia said before, there is not much room for Leoben to play in the script. He just makes an appearance, wear some decorative Macupan pendants to make them look more ferocious than ordinary Bangerous, and then walk out with a group of big monsters in the scale model city with arrogant steps after all. It is just a preview performance to warm up the movie. Even so, the fans in the audience also responded with warm applause. Ban. Leo Ban was a little excited when he saw this scene, and he raised his head and roared impromptu point immediately. He waved his huge tail and swept down a tall building before turning around and leaving. Oops. Eminem covered his face when he saw this and asked worriedly, "Do you still want your Lao?" "No." "Very good." The last sound was very powerful. Uia said excitedly. Really? Although Eminem didn't understand, she felt relieved when she saw that he didn't seem to be talking politely. "Mr. Eminem, have you registered for tomorrow's competition?" Uia asked with some anxiety. I'm afraid Eminem didn't participate because he didn't have enough Pokémon in the monster group or wasn't interested, reported. Amu nodded. Great. Leo Ban is very suitable to star in our work. Uia was so happy to see such a suitable Bankilis that the leader even died without feeling sorry for him. Well, I just participate in the competition when I see it. Whether or not we want to cooperate depends on the wishes of my Pokémon. After a pause, Amu added, and I also want to participate in the city. There will definitely not be much time in the past 2 or 3 months for the rookie competition in the city. Uia was surprised when he heard this. Can you still participate in the rookie competition? Slim Shady. Do I look old? Seeing Eminem's expression, Uia immediately changed her words. No, I mean, I saw that Mr. Eminem's Bankilis is almost level 60, and I thought he must have been traveling for several years. Although Eminem is somewhat famous, if you don't pay attention to the rookie competition in the pharmacist industry, you won't remember this name. At this time, Uia suddenly said even more excitedly, that would be even better. Of course we are not in a hurry. If you can get the ranking in the rookie competition, the old class will be more topical, but it still depends on Leo Ban's own thoughts. Eminem still said this. Well, we will contact you after the game. Believe me. As a producer, I can see that Leo Ban is also pursuing applause. Uia said confidently. After Leo Ban left the stage and returned to the backstage, Eminem also asked him how he felt. That's all it is. It's better to fight. What a stupid human being. What's the point of this? Leo Ban looked uninterested, but he couldn't help but raise his neck higher than before. Eminem could see that it was the effect of the previous applause. Okay, I understand. Eminem said, taking Leo Ban back. It seems that after the rookie competition, it would be good to keep the old class in the crew. It was already past 8 o'clock, and as expected, Yumi called at this time. She had already get off work and was going to take Eminem and others to dinner. They made an appointment to meet at the entrance of the main entrance of the carnival. Xiaolan was also texting Conan at this time. After all, it was so late, and he didn't know what EG was doing. Seeing that Conan didn't reply, he sent it to He again. He should have found them, right? But just as Amu, Yuanzi, and Xiaolan were crossing the road, they suddenly heard the sound of rapid hooves, and then saw an explosion-headed buffalo running uphill. Get away, there were people riding on it, but they had no intention of slowing down at this time, and were just scolding passers-by. Careful. Xiaolan, who was operating the illustrated book, didn't react for a moment, and Yuanzi next to her quickly pushed her away. But it was too late for Sonoko to hide. Fortunately, at this moment, Eminem, who had already crossed the road, quickly turned around, and his legs flashed like a long-legged shadow. Then in one leap, he passed over half of the road and threw Yuanzi into the air. Go back, Yuanzi. Xiaolan exclaimed. The next moment, the Afro buffalo passed by her, and she saw it too. Finally, Eminem threw Yuanzi to the ground in time. At the same time, Heiji, Conan, Yumi, and Kazuha were also chasing after them. Obviously this was the reason why the other party was running wildly. As for the escaped Afro buffalo, before Yumi could catch up with it on Star, it was startled by other Mount Pokémon on the side road, and then, like all bovine Pokémon, it jumping around. Bovine Pokémon tend to do this when frightened, trying to throw off the rider, but before Yumi could breathe a sigh of relief, the next moment I saw something seem to be thrown out of the Afro buffalo, and, after a flash of light, it exploded. Eminem quickly turned his head and looked over, keenly feeling that there was a strong spiritual impact in the explosion. At this time, the Junshus had also chased after him and handcuffed the fugitive who had lost consciousness and whose life or death was unknown. Yumi also rushed over and asked, "Are you okay?" "Oh, don't worry, it's okay." Amu suddenly realized that he was still pressing Yuanzi and quickly stood up and pulled her up too. "It's okay," Yuanzi said with his head lowered. Under the street light, you can see Yuanzi's face, which is still a little flushed. "Sorry, it seems I can only you go have dinner by yourselves. My treat will be postponed. I will definitely do it next time." Yumi looked at the explosion scene and then said helplessly, "The explosion just now doesn't seem to be a bomb, right?" Amu asked in confusion. "Well, if I read it correctly, it should be explosion, the replaced head. Once this thing explodes, it will not only have a physical impact, but also a mental impact. The prisoner may have." Yumi's tone was obviously not optimistic. At this moment, Yumi saw Hiji taking Conan and approached him again, but was stopped by another Junsha. She couldn't help but said with a look on her face, "That's right. My cousin will entertain you guys on my behalf tonight. After that, I'll make it up again." Saying that, Yumi went over and pulled Hiji over. "No, I still have to go investigate the case. I can go eat by myself," Hiji said rebelliously. Conan was also hiding behind him at this time and whispered, "I can watch Hiji, brother, and tell him not to mess around." Seeing this, Eminem said considerately, "Forget it. You can just rest assured and investigate the case. Leave Heian's Island to my care, Hiji." Conan. So, Hiji suddenly repented and decided to entertain everyone for dinner for his cousin, and Conan suddenly became a good boy. Chapter 618 Emotional Intelligence. During dinner, Eminem also learned from Hiji and Conan what happened behind the excitement of the carnival. First, Eminem found out that the gangrene producer died of Bangulus and suddenly went crazy. Later it was proved that someone used the saliva of Ub-05, Big Eater, to induce the tragedy. After an investigation by Hiji and Conan, they uncovered the alibi of the other two people in the same group and determined that they collaborated in the crime as suspects. Their Pokeballs had long been temporarily confiscated, but after realizing that they were likely to be exposed, the two took the risk to escape with the help of Gangren's Pokémon. Gangren's Pokémon were usually stored in the crew, and, although technically they were Kungjin's Pokémon, but in fact, he is also very familiar with other people. Just now he was one of the suspects, riding Gangren's Afro Buffalo, preparing to escape. Unexpectedly, the Afro Buffalo's afro actually hid the afro of explosion. It sounds very convoluted, and it blew him up seriously. Although he didn't die suddenly on the spot, the mental shock involved may have left him unable to wake up. Hiji and Conan also fell into new doubts at this time. Regarding their doubts, Eminem concluded, in other words, the explosion in the afro of the Afro Buffalo cannot be placed by them, otherwise they would not be accidentally injured. But there are other people who want to kill that gangrene, right? Yuanzi, Xiaolan, and hey, my head is going to explode. Sonoko muttered softly, the content of the afro is too high. Kazuo also complained. Hiji saw Kazuo's confused look, so he explained, explosion is the code name of an ultimate alien beast. Its signature skill is shocking big head, which means its big head will explode itself. The power exerted has both physical impact and mental impact. As explosion grows, it will shed its head just like a snake Pokémon sheds its skin or a shell Pokémon sheds its shell. These shed explosive heads are also very dangerous. Although they themselves it won't explode, but it can trigger other Pokémon to self-destruct like shocking big head. The previous explosion was actually an explosion based on the power of the afro-headed buffalo. Therefore, the afro-headed buffalo was not seriously injured. It just fainted, but the prisoner riding it was seriously injured. At this time, Eminem remembered what Yumi said before, and couldn't help but muttered, Yuansu City is really not peaceful. This guy who smuggles products of ultimate alien beasts is too rampant. How many related cases have you encountered, although it cannot be said that it was planned by the same organization. But it is true that the people who committed the crime should have obtained these dangerous goods from the same organization. No wonder the Quartz Juncture headquarters was alerted and began to suspect that there was an insider. They directly assigned a special person to clarify matters in the Yuansu area. However, Eminem just sighed and didn't take it to heart. Instead, he should eat and drink. Only Heiji and Conan looked like they were thinking all the time. Eminem also signed up for the Monster Cup. What? In today's Kamen Rider vs. Big Monster preview performance, Eminem's Bankalas also appeared. What a pity. I wanted to see it too. After he heard Xiaolan and Yuanzi talking about it, he couldn't help but feel even more regretful. It doesn't matter. We can go there tomorrow and watch Eminem's game together, Yuanzi suggested at this time. Eminem also deliberately said at this time, well, you can rest assured and go investigate the case. Heiji, Conan, knowing that this guy said this on purpose, rather than worrying that this guy was teasing his female companion, it was better to say that he was teasing himself. But Heiji and Conan were still subtly unhappy. After all, Eminem knew that the two of them were jealous, so he deliberately said that if he wasn't unhappy, I wouldn't bother teasing him. You guy, don't you have a thirst for the truth? Heiji looked at Amu with disdain, trying to drag him into investigating the case. Yes. After you find out, don't forget to tell me about it, Eminem said. I'll just read the spoilers. After that, the topic was finally freed from the case temporarily. Mainly Heiji and Kazuha, two people from Golden City, began to criticize the Kingaki here for being unauthentic, especially for Heiji, an old Jinhuang City native. The topic all the way turned to the cultural accumulation is not as good as our Golden City, it's just a poor imitation. Jinhuang City is the best in the world. Eminem even felt that the atmosphere around him became solemn. If he didn't stop him, this guy might be thrown out of the store. It wasn't until Eminem brought up topics such as we can go to the burnt tower after the carnival and Nazi doesn't know what she's been doing recently that she finally suppressed this guy's thoughts. After all, no matter how weak the culture of Yuansu City is, people actually have relics of the appearance of the Phoenix King. In the final analysis, relics are the most powerful cultural accumulation. Golden City is being ruled by Nazi, and the limelight of Ninja Cultural City has been completely overshadowed by the coronation city of the Super Queen. Eminem's speech with such high emotional intelligence even made the store give him a dish as a gift. We didn't order these two. Amu looked at the waiter in confusion. This dish is from our boss, and this juice is from that lady, the waiter said, and glanced at Heiji. It was obvious that Heiji's eloquent talk just now made the people around him very unhappy. He went on the side, quickly apologized and laughed. That lady? When Am and others looked over, they saw a woman with blonde hair, a hat and sunglasses, who was paying the bill and leaving. Thank you. Amu waved his hand quickly. Seeing Eminem and others looking over, the woman just nodded and continued to open the door and leave. After returning to the Pokémon Center to rest in the evening, Eminem was even more energetic than he had been yesterday morning. The next morning, Eminem also found that he seemed to prefer competitions to participating in carnivals, even if it was just a village competition with little gold content. But when he saw Kazuha and Xiaolan, Eminem realized that Heiji and Conan left earlier and no one was seen early in the morning. The Monster Cup at the carnival is right at the carnival. The staff had set up several arenas overnight last night. Today there will be non-stop monster battle games for you to watch. It is also written in the competition rules, try not to use moves that damage the venue. Although the venue is not very professional, it is still for viewing purposes, and many carnival visitors will also watch. Chapter 619, The Little Overlord of the Water Friends Competition. Garlic. On the field of the Kamen Rider Carnival Monster Cup qualifiers, a Bulbasaur with a strong body and huge and gorgeous flowers was seen. At this time, vines stretched out from its back. The opponent Cockadora rolled up and threw it out. That's right, it's just an unevolved Cockadora. It looks like a big monster bullying small animals, because there is almost no threshold for this competition, and most of the people who come here are fans of Kamen Rider or Big Monster, so most of the players are very weak point, and Eminem is like a big shark mixed into a water club. The three kings in the monster group Pokémon that are close to the kings can be called a kicking kindergarten here. They beat the children along the way and easily earn points, because the mechanism of the game is also more for the viewing pleasure. Eminem has been fighting continuously on this battlefield due to his winning streak. Immediately afterwards, Bulbasaur was replaced, and Nidoking came on point. Eminem looked at the next young opponent, who released Bayleaf, and with a twitch of the corner of his mouth, he reminded Nido, "Be careful when you start, Nido." Nido seemed very excited, ignoring Eminem's reminder at all. Even though he didn't deliberately strike hard, he was still very quick to fight. It seemed that he was trying to kill his opponent faster and more handsomely, without saving any face. After throwing the kid's Bayleaf off the court, Nido roared to the sky and patted his chest, making Eminem face up and point. It's not that Nido has a violent personality, but I can't bear to see Leoben acting in front of his dream love garlic. Although Leoben didn't mean it at all, Nido still wanted to overshadow it. Pity Eminem had just replaced it, and Bangalis had just appeared on the stage, and he was immediately greeted by a full house of applause. In terms of actual combat power, Agar and Nido actually surpassed Leoben. However, most of the audience present were just watching the excitement. In their opinion, Amu's Pokémon were all equally strong. More importantly, Bangalis is originally the representative of the Big Monster series, and Bangalis is also a quasi-mythical beast in the Johto area. How could its popularity here be so low? At this time, the opponent was the most decent one Eminem had encountered today. After all, the opponent he sent was a Boscadora, as representatives of powerful, heavy-skinned, thick-skinned. Boscadora and Bangalis can be said to be head-to-head. If both sides do not count special attack and special defense, their racial values are actually almost point, and this Boscadora is at least level 40, so it's quite a battle against Leoben. But Eminem looked at Leoben with a strange expression. I wonder if it was an illusion. Eminem always felt that he was deliberately letting off steam and boosting his performance points. Boscadora is indeed hard enough, but its level is still much lower than Leoben's, and as a steel plus rock Pokémon, it is a double weak ground system. Although Bangalis has evolved and no longer has the ground type attribute, it has already become familiar with earthquake. Even if it has rough skin and thick flesh and cannot be solved with one shot, it is still stable with 2 shots. But Leoben keeps wondering. Bite and Fire Fist are fun to play. The latter is Eminem's own fire skill slot, so don't use it in vain. In the end, the fight turned into a fighting situation between two big monsters. After a hard fight, Leoben finally knocked out his opponent's Boscadora with one tail point. Then I saw Leoben, who was in a slightly embarrassed state, roaring from all sides, as if he was celebrating his victory. The audience also liked this trick very much, and responded with even warmer applause and cheers. Embarrassed? It doesn't exist. This is called the right combat feeling. Eminem had a strange look on his face, and suddenly felt that Leoben might be really suitable to be an actor. In comparison, Nido is not so thoughtful, and Ars1, as Eminem's first companion after his trip, Armin counts before the trip. Ars1 has a deep understanding of Eminem's true heritage, and can crush his opponents. Fortunately, once you encounter an opponent worthy of a fight, you will immediately start using hypnosis powder as the core of your tactics, which is not a big monster. But when Leoben caught Eminem's gaze, his movements lagged behind, and he restrained himself, with an expression like what a pity. If it weren't for the fear of damaging the venue, I would have suffered an earthquake. Slim Shady. Soon, Eminem took back his old classmate and replaced him with Arguan. This is how the qualifiers are. The more you win, the more intense the game becomes, and the next game is basically 5 minutes apart. At the end of the day, Eminem played 36 games and won all 36 games, firmly entering tomorrow's official match. Theoretically, all monster Pokémon that enter the official competition have a chance to be selected. And even Pokémon that do not enter the official competition may just be discovered by a production team. After Eminem left the field, Soon Yuanzi and the other three rushed over. It's not that they don't watch Eminem's games, but they went to help Eminem detect the enemy situation. The qualifying stages were divided into several stages and were spread throughout the carnival point. Because it is an entertainment game in itself, the viewing value is much higher than the fairness, and it basically follows the principle of the winner does not move. Therefore, Eminem's opponents were most likely from other arenas. After watching a few crushing games, Yuanzi suggested that everyone go detect the enemy's situation, but looking at the various souvenir bags, marshmallows, and octopus balls in their hands, it doesn't look like they are serious about spying on the enemy. Here, I brought them for you. The octopus balls here are very unique. Don't look at the black color, they are octopus buckets with ink spraying on the side. Sinako said and stuffed a box for Eminem point. As soon as Eminem saw it, he knew that Sinako really liked these octopus balls, because there was still one missing in it. Hiss. Have you seen any powerful players? Eminem poked one and stuffed it into his mouth. Unexpectedly, it was still hot. Point as for powerful players, Eminem just asked casually. Judging from today's situation, it is undoubtedly a water friends competition. By the way, there really is one, using Blizzard King, Tooth Turtle and Biting Land Shark. Sinako said immediately at this time, huh, and biting land sharks? Eminem was stunned when he heard this. This Linoop sounded a bit strong, which was different from other water friends I met today. That person looks familiar. Kazai said in confusion at this time, seeming to be thinking about something. Even wearing sunglasses and a hat, you can tell he looks familiar. Yuanzi asked doubtfully. Eminem didn't think it was anything at first, but when he heard these two things, he quickly said, sunglasses and hat? Is it a woman with blonde hair? The person who invited us to drink juice yesterday was also dressed like this. Eminem is very sensitive to physical features other than facial features. By the way, it seems to be her. Xiaolan and Yuanzi also thought about it at this time. I didn't see that person yesterday. He muttered. Other than that, she felt familiar. Chapter 620 Official Match. December 13th, the second day of the Kamen Rider Carnival. At night, Eminem, who qualified for the Monster Cup official competition, originally wanted to write a tactical diary, but after thinking about it, he gave up. It's just a competition for water friends, so there's no need to be so serious. What's more, having myself as a big shark is already a special situation. The player with the biting land shark, even if he comes to fry fish, can he also blow up his big shark? Therefore, Eminem didn't make any preparations and just waited for tomorrow to sign up in the same order as today. There are only 8 players in the official competition, and each round is an elimination system. 3 Pokémon take turns to appear, and after that, 2 out of 3 games will win, except that all 3 are on the field. The others are the same as today. Still unable to direct them personally. The next morning, Eminem came to the battleground in advance and found that the order of the competition had already been decided, and there was no drawing of lots. The organizer arranged it directly. UI came up to him again at this time, and as soon as he saw Amu, he said, Mr. Amu is indeed a semi-finalist in the Kanto rookie competition. His performance yesterday surprised many of my colleagues. He probably checked the information himself and found out that Eminem had participated in a rookie competition in Kanto. The semi-finals of the rookie competition sounds like that, but he can draw a conclusion from this. Eminem has only traveled in Johto for less than half a year and cultivated Bankilis for less than half a year. The Gangren group where UI belongs is also in trouble. Not only is the Gangren dead, but also, the murderer is the other 2 producers in the group, one of whom was the one whose head was blown up by the explosion before. Now he is the last producer in the group. If E.G. and Conan hadn't been around him this time, Eminem would have suspected that he was the mastermind. After Eminem said a few humble words, UI also talked to Eminem about today's schedule. Eminem is ranked number 4. That is, in the first round, and will appear in the second game, in the official competition. Naturally everyone will not compete together, but there will be only one venue, otherwise the tourists will not know who to go see. Today's venue finally looked professional, Eminem said after looking at the venue. Hahaha, that's right. In today's venue, Mr. Eminem's Pokémon can be used freely, UI said with a smile. It's casual. Eminem muttered softly, feeling that it was not so casual point before the competition. I probably didn't consider that there would really be king level Pokémon competing. The space between the venue and the auditorium will be manually isolated by trainers carrying barrier Pokémon. At this time, Eminem had been staring at the promotional poster, and all he saw was himself painted on it, with 3 obviously exaggerated monster Pokémon. Behind him, the style of the painting was 2 out of 10. The words mountains and rocks cracked, rivers flowed backwards, the king of arrogance and war, Eminem were also marked below. This comment is. Eminem felt speechless. Oh, it's just to stir up the atmosphere, don't worry about it. UI's tone was indeed very nonchalant. Slim Shady, seeing Eminem staring at him, UI further explained, everyone assumes that these are exaggerated rhetoric about the ace Pokémon. Don't worry, although, among our Liang, Nido and Leo Ben, it is never Leo Ben's turn to be the ace, but since Eminem has always made it the 3rd one to appear, it is assumed that it is the ace. There is no need to specifically correct this. After all, the Monster Cup is originally about selecting actors, and Bangalis has the advantage in this aspect, and it is indeed unique, and has its own popularity point at this time. Eminem noticed that his promotional board was in the 4th position among the 8 contestants. The 5th one behind him was also in the C position like himself. As expected, he was the mysterious contestant, hibernating in volcanoes, soaring in the sky, the king of earth and sky, Tiramisu. Eminem was puzzled by the name. Well, we are allowed to use pseudonyms, and there is not much identity verification. UI paused, and then continued, but looking at this Tiramisu Pokémon, it should be from SYNOPSIS, right? It is also other than apart from Mr. Eminem. I'm the strongest participant this time, you know it from the arrangement. Eminem curled his lips. Not only are the posters of the 2 people posted in the C position, but the order of the battle is also 1 vs 2, 3 vs 4. In other words, the 2 people are in the upper and lower halves respectively, and theoretically they will meet in the finals. Although she is much older than you, I believe Mr. Eminem will be fine. UI set a flag for Eminem at this time point, but just after she finished speaking, UI shivered and felt a chill on the back of her neck. At the same time, Eminem saw that the Tiramisu contestant had also arrived. Originally, Eminem wanted to say hello. After all, he bought himself a drink the night before, but the other person seemed to be very socially intimidated, but he was far away. He nodded to Eminem, and then ignored Eminem's approach and directly went to the separate lounge. Eminem saw that she didn't really want to interact with people, so he didn't force her. Soon the game started, and Yuanzi and the other 3 people had already arrived at the auditorium. On the other hand, Heiji and Conan's investigation has already yielded results after the explosion incident of the Afro Buffalo the day before yesterday. 2 more explosion incidents occurred in various places. Both of them were equipped with explosive heads on Pokémon in advance to predict attacks. Okay, we'll be close to the Pokémon's target by then. After some reasoning, Conan and Heiji followed the weirdness of the case and deduced the truth. If the murderer was still normal, it would be impossible for him to focus on executing the original plan. Even though he bombed the wrong person, an investigation was launched, and sure enough, it was finally confirmed. The murderer is none other than the contributor who was killed. From the beginning, he wanted to silence his associates who had collaborated with him in committing major crimes, but after he set up those explosive heads, he was given justice from heaven by 2 subordinates of his production team. It is precisely because the prisoners were killed by others from the beginning that these explosion incidents appear to be so relentless and continue to be carried out, no matter how many mistakes are made. Now, before them, the final and most urgent doubt is that there should be the last explosion head set by Gong before his death. To this day, they still don't know where it was set and who it was meant to explode, and just before the game started, UI also received bad news. What? Can't come at this time. There is no way. Let's find someone to replace the broadcaster. UI said helplessly. The trainer who was hired in advance to hold up the barrier has not come yet. Even because he was hired by a practitioner, he doesn't even have contact information. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621 Blizzard is empty. I've kept everyone waiting. We will soon have the most important showdown today. Mountains and rocks are broken apart, rivers are reversed, the king of arrogance and warlikeness, Eminem, against hibernating in volcanoes, soaring in the sky, the king of earth and sky Tiramisu. The host was working hard to heat up the atmosphere. After all, this is the final of the Carnival Monster Cup. Sure enough, in the end, it was Eminem and the mysterious Tiramisu who met the two strongest players. The other contestants were more than one step behind, and their gold content was far less than that of the regional newcomer competition. Yuanzi was in the audience, shouting Eminem's name almost loudly, but the sound was still muffled. It's not that Tiramisu is more popular, but most of the audience shouted Bangalus and Bite the Land Shark at this time, followed by Biofrog, Blizzard King. There are only a few who directly pay attention to the players themselves when it comes to the finals. Normally speaking, for the contestants themselves, the goal has been achieved. Normally this Carnival Monster Cup is originally a competition to select monster actors. By reaching the finals, no matter whether you win or lose, you will have the most opportunities to perform. The impact of the outcome of this final is only the modest prize money from the competition. Oh, by the way, there is also the Kamen Rider exclusive birthday cake as an exclusive prize for the champion, which will be delivered to any region of the 9 major leagues once a year. For Eminem, bonuses are far less profitable than potions, and the exclusive birthday cake is said to be delicious, and new global limited editions are released every year, but it is not very attractive to Eminem. What drives Eminem now is simply the desire to win. Eminem estimates that the other party should be similar, right? Still wrapped tightly in fear of Tiramisu, he glanced at the cake on the poster and swallowed. The first duel is Bulbasaur vs. Blizzard King. With the host's voice, Eminem and Tiramisu released their first Pokémon at the same time. At this time, both parties were sure the other party was honest and did not change the order. Garlic. As soon as Eminem's Bulbasaur appeared, he stamped his feet with great force. Blizzard, the Blizzard King of Tiramisu, also appeared, but in contrast to Agarian, his momentum was a bit lower. But at the same time, a cold current swept across the entire place, and small ice crystals began to condense in the air. Obviously, this Blizzard King also has the attribute of snowfall, which will make the surrounding environment favorable to the ice element. In the Sinnoh region, the Blizzard King mostly inhabits the snowy mountains, and only appears when it is covered with ice and snow. Oops. Eminem didn't change the order, and, looking at the previous games, Aswan doesn't seem to have poison skills. Ziolan was worried for Eminem at this time. But if you have thick fat, Aswan isn't afraid of ice attacks, right? Yuanzi hasn't reacted yet. Kazo reminded from the side. No, thick fat only exists after mega evolution. Now the trainer can't intervene, so it can't mega evolve. Yes, on the surface, Blizzard King has a ice attribute that can restrain Bulbasaur, and it's also a dual system of grass plus ice, which is hypnotic powder that doesn't eat garlic. However, Eminem still feels that this fight should be considered evenly matched regardless of combat effectiveness. Because our lion also hid the last 5th skill point. I saw Blizzard King and Bubbly Frog fighting for a while on the field. It was obvious that Blizzard King had the advantage. The physical strength of both sides was about the same, but the vines stretched out by Bubbly Frog seemed to be affected by, despite the influence of the snowy weather, it seemed a little weak. Bulbasaur itself seems to move a little slower in the cold environment. However, the moment the Blizzard King used Blizzard, our lion's eyes lit up, and a small sun vomited out of the flower core. I saw the Blizzard King rounding his arms, and the surrounding ice and snow were all concentrated towards the Blizzard King, and the surrounding air suddenly became 3 points colder. Seeing the blizzard condense and the snowflakes become thick and thick like ice blades. Bio Frog used. Sunny day. A small sun shot into the air, and the ice and snow on the field suddenly melted. Although the blizzard condensed around Blizzard King is still there, the arrogance has been completely suppressed, leaving only small snowflakes. When Blizzard King was swung out, the so-called blizzard also became a little standing alone. Blizzard without the cooperation of the surrounding environment is still not possible. The cold air spread very slowly this time, and a lion easily dodged it. That's right. Ars1, with his speed advantage, was not in a hurry to use his skills. He was just waiting for this move. The host, who was not a very professional commentator, was at a loss for words at this time. In the previous 2 games, it was clear that Eminem's Biofrog had already revealed 4 skills: Hypnosis Powder, Hold, and Petal Dance, and Weather Ball. Where did this sunny day come from? There shouldn't be enough time to change skills. Is it possible to break through the skill level before reaching level 80? At first, everyone thought that Eminem's Bulbasaur would just use the weather ball caused by the snow caused by the opponent, and its power was also very good. But, even if Ars1 doesn't need to command, he is still a tactical Pokémon. He directly stabilizes his hand and changes the surrounding environment at the moment the opponent takes action. Not only does the opponent's skill become empty, but it is also replaced by Blizzard King is uncomfortable. Eminem noticed that Tiramisu was also a little surprised, but it was not obvious under the cover of sunglasses and scarf. Obviously his opponent had not done any homework in advance, otherwise he should have known that Eminem could make your own Pokémon comes with a fire skill slot. Then the scene changed to Blizzard King being suppressed and beaten by Bulbasaur, and the cheers for Bulbasaur from the audience became louder and louder. Of course, there are also some doubts. This Biofrog is a bit of a thief. This is no longer a big monster. The level of Blizzard King of Tiramisu is only about the same as that of Ars1. No matter how high it is, he will not be able to participate. At this time, under the strong power of the sun, Blizzard King felt uncomfortable all over, and his whole body began to smoke, as if he was going to be confused. And when Ars1 skills were ready again, this time a fire type weather ball that absorbed the strong power of the sun directly took away the Blizzard King. The Blizzard King of grass plus ice, but double weak fire, garlic. After our lion won, she once again became concave. Although he is not as natural as Leoban, our lion works very hard. Eminem waited until it was concave and shaped, then replaced the garlic with Nido. Tiramisu still did not change the order, and the Tute turtle was equally upright. Chapter 622 Dance. Tute, Nido. In terms of appearance, this scene is the reverse of the previous one. Bulbasaur and Tute Turtle have more similar body shapes, while Blizzard King and Nido King both stand on 2 feet. By now, everyone already knows that Nido is the Nido King, not the Nido Queen at first glance. This Tute Turtle is obviously well bred, and is much larger than individuals of the same race. Even Eminem's visual inspection shows that Ars1 is bigger than the Mega Evolved Ars1. The size of the normal Tute Turtle should be between the Biofrog and Mega Frog, and argue the garlic itself is larger than the ordinary Bulbasaur, and this turtle is even bigger. Tute Turtle is the final evolved form of the 3 grass-type royal families in the Sinnoh region. Not only is it huge in size and heavy in stature, it also has the power of the earth on its back, and even trees can grow on its back, making it a grass plus ground dual type Pokémon. At this time, because it was a best of 3 game, one game after another, the previous sunny day effect had been dispelled, and did not continue. Nido and the Tute Turtle first exchanged tentative attacks, and then Nido scored a point, and the opponent's Tute Turtle shrank by 1 point. Eminem's Nido is originally a ballast stone and stable in performance, but this earth turtle is actually more stable than Nido. After taking the main defense, Nido has nothing to do with the Tute Turtle except for his skills. After all, this thing has extremely high physical defense, and its body is very good at defense. After all, it has such a big turtle shell. However, the outcome began to tilt after Nido prepared his skills. When Nido opened his mouth, the cold air came out and directly hit the Tute Turtle, who was not good at avoiding in a bunch. Tute Turtle cried out in pain. A layer of ice formed on its back, and the trees on its back also withered a little. The grass plus ground earth turtle has double weak ice, Once frozen, its momentum will drop drastically. The host was messy again, because Nido has shown 4 skills before: Power of the Earth, Sludge Wave, 100,000 volts, and Spray Flame. There is obviously no time to change skills between games, so why did you take out Freeze Beam now? However, Eminem noticed that his opponent Tiramisu was not too surprised at this time, and seemed to have understood, just like AGO's Sunny Day before. Nido's Spray Flame was Eminem's own the fire type exclusive skill slot. Freeze Beam has just not been exposed before. Fortunately, the special defense of Tootay Turtle is not low. At this time, he just screamed in pain and continued to deal with it conservatively until the skill of Tootay Turtle was ready. I saw that Tootay Turtle stretched its whole body, stretched its neck and roared, "Tootay." Then, I saw a burst of invisible power blooming from the Tootay Turtle, and a sound of muscles and bones coming together came from the Tootay Turtle. There was a clanging sound, as if real swords were colliding with each other. Eminem frowned at this moment, and realized that things were not simple. The other party used sword dance. As a result, the physical strength of the Tootay Turtle was further released. After the sword dance, once the Tootay Turtle's style of play suddenly became unrestrained. In addition to his skills, he began to face Nido head on. Obviously, Nido's weakness of weak strength has also been exposed, because he is trained for special attack. Nido's performance outside of skills is actually not as good as most other Nido Kings with the same combat power. What's more important is that Nido was eager to show off at this time, and after being slightly frustrated, he became impatient. Eminem also gave Nido a cold sweat, because the rule is that it all depends on the Pokemon's own performance, and Eminem did not comfort him at this time. Although he secretly used his ability to comfort him, he might not be discovered, but Eminem still didn't do this. The opponent's Tootay Turtle is already stronger than Nido. Maintaining a defensive position before was just a strategy. At this time, sword dance happened again. Nido was already in a power confrontation and was no match for the opponent's Tootay Turtle. At this moment, Nido had just finished using his skills, and he couldn't wait to hit the opponent hard again. Even if his power was at a disadvantage, the damage done by Freeze Beam to Tootay Turtle was still considerable. Oops, it's too urgent, Eminem exclaimed secretly. Sure enough, as soon as Nido opened his mouth, the Tootay Turtle stretched out its neck and bit Nido King's throat directly. Although he didn't bite through Nido's thick outer armor, but under the twisting of the Tootay Turtle, Nido couldn't help but raise his head, and a Freeze Beam shot almost completely missed, only sweeping some of the tree crowns on the opponent's back. When using skills, faster is not always better. Timing is also very important, otherwise it will be easy to be interrupted by the opponent like this. Then, when the Tootay Turtle pushed forward, Nido also took a few steps back and fell directly to the ground. Although when the opponent came up in pursuit, Nido swung his tail and slapped the Tootay Turtle on the face and got up in time, but the Tootay Turtle had already prepared his skills at this time and stomped his feet hard. The power of the earth was attracted and spread to the surroundings along with gravity. The moment Nido was affected, he suffered heavy injuries and fell down again. Then before he could wait for the next skill, Nido was thrown out of the field due to the huge power gap. Seeing the Totegi come back, the audience outside the stadium cheered again. The Tootay Turtle wins. Eminem and Tiramisu, 1-1, temporarily tied. Next is the exciting final. Bankalus vs. Bite the Land Shark. The organizer is obviously very happy. Leaving the outcome in the third game is the best way for the atmosphere, but Eminem is already a little guilty. Compared with Ewan and Nido, Leoben's growth level is not enough. Fortunately, Eminem has also watched the 2 previous games of Tiramisu. Bite the Land Shark doesn't seem to have reached level 70, but it is still a bit higher than Leoben's growth rate. Moreover, the Bite Land Shark of Dragon plus Ground is not at all a false attribute of Bangerous, but the Bangerous of Rock plus Evil is restrained by the Ground system, class, Violent, Land. As soon as the Taquasi gods came on stage, they were greeted with excited cheers from the audience. Leoben is in a losing battle, and when he roars, he looks more fierce than anyone else. and both sides collided rapidly from the beginning. Regardless of the speed, racial value, Bite Land Shark completely defeated Bangerous, but that was the speed of skill preparation or energy accumulation. In terms of the explosive speed of a real sprint, both are extremely fast. Although Bite Land Shark is a ground type, it cannot overcome gravity like the flying type, but it can fly at a short but high speed by spraying high pressure gas from its elbows and adding fins on its arms. And Bangerous still has the jet vents left over from the Shaculus form, especially the jet vents on its back and legs, which also rely on jet gas to accelerate. I saw two giant beasts galloping and colliding dizzyingly on the field. The collisions even sparked sparks. However, immediately after Bite the Land Shark, the skill was ready one step ahead without any doubt. An earthquake directly shook Leoban's armor all over his body, and he bent over in pain. Immediately, he was rushed towards and Bite the Land Shark. He cut it hard with the fin knife, and it took a long time for Leoban to have his skills ready. Originally, Eminem thought that he might lose this round, but he didn't expect that Leoban would actually. I saw dragon energy surging all over Leoban's body, and he danced some kind of war dance. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the biting land shark on the opposite side suddenly turned red. Chapter 623. Isn't this a coincidence? As the saying goes, you don't need to slap someone in the face. You don't expose someone's shortcomings when you scold someone, and you don't need dragon dance to hit the earth dragon. Bite the land shark is a majestic dragon type quasi-god, but he still attacks Pokémon physically, but he cannot learn the dragon type's signature skill, dragon dance. As far as mankind knows, there is only one Bite Land Shark who has learned the dragon dance, and that is the trump card of the Sinnoh champion ZHU line point. She was still young then, ahem. Of course she is not old now. When she first showed the world the dragon dance Bite the Land Shark, the illustrated data once mentioned this move, included in the learnable category of Biting Land Shark. As for why other Biting Land Sharks don't, it's just too difficult point. But then gradually everyone discovered that neither the Dragon King nor the training master could make Bite the Land Shark learn dragon dance, and even Zilan could not train a second dragon dance. Bite the Land Shark, not even the offspring of a race point. Therefore, in the end, everyone concluded that this only example was the accident of accidents caused by the coincidence of the special talent of the Biting Land Shark and the special talent of the bamboo orchid. Now in the illustration data, the description that Biting the Land Shark can learn dragon dance has also been deleted. It is true that the stronger the racial talent of a Pokémon, the more difficult it is to learn powerfully improved skills such as dragon dance. But, corresponding to Bite Land Shark, it is also a quasi-god and does not have a dragon type. The attributes of Bangerous can be learned or inherited. Dragon dance, although even if it is genetically activated, this move is difficult to truly master. If it takes a long time to dance to take effect, it means nothing. But Eminem has specially trained Leoban's dragon dance, and it is still young killers at that time. I practiced it over and over again. At this moment, I saw Leoban bending down with his teeth bared and his claws pouting in front and back. Although the armor plates on his back were not as open as when he was in Mega, they were also raised a little. At the same time, dragon type energy surged out from his body. Outlines around him. A dragon shape appeared, completed a wave of dragon dance very skillfully and quickly. Looking at the tiramisu and Bite the Land Shark again, my eyes were red, and I fell into a state of rage. Shark. Shark. Cough. Tiramisu couldn't help but want to stop the Biting Land Shark that he was fighting, not because he was worried about losing, but because he saw that its state was not right. However, I thought that we were still in the game and the rules were duels without command, so I injured it. The next moment, I saw dragon type power surging all over the body of Bite Land Shark, or rather running around. But no matter how chaotic it was still attached to Bite Land Shark. Faced with the huge speed gap, Leoban had just used dragon dance, and Bite Land Shark had already used the skill for the second time. But reverse scale. Eminem naturally recognized this move with obvious characteristics. On Lee, what are you using? Reverse scale. For now, the effect of direct earthquake is better. Not only does the dragon type not restrain Bangerous, but reverse scale, like petal dance, is difficult to control after use. It basically just activates continuously. If used too much, it will easily enter a chaotic state point under the effect of reverse scale. The opponent's bite land shark contained violent dragon power in every move, and every move it made, but different from earthquake, a skill that takes effect instantly and causes damage. In the final analysis, reverse scale is equivalent to adding a damage buff or acquiring the opponent to fight with fists, and Dragon Dance has done it once. Not bad either. Just here at the carnival, when Bangerous and Bite the Land Shark were locked in a bitter battle, Conan and EG finally used a trick to deceive the last guy targeted by Garngren, because those whom Garngren wanted to kill were all accomplices of the robbery gang 10 years ago, so they themselves were unwilling to admit it. Seeing that he could no longer escape, the other party was blocked by Conan and EG. At the same time, the two of them also asked him what he was going to do today. Damn it. That bastard Garngren really wanted to. Fortunately, I didn't go. After hearing Hege's explanation, this man also understood that his judgment was correct. He only took it into consideration after reading the news and knowing about the previous bombings. So, where are you going? Does Garngren know? Conan asked quickly. The other party was still taking chances and didn't want to say anything. The evidence for your crime of robbery is conclusive. It's better to speak out quickly now to prevent innocent people from getting hurt and to atone for yourself. Hege said immediately. Well, of course that kung fu guy knows that all the money I allocated back then was used to train Pokémon, but I still couldn't become a professional trainer, and I haven't been doing very well recently, so he helped. I found a part-time job, which is to be the isolation hand at today's carnival. Isolation hand. There seems to be some kind of competition at the carnival today. I want to take my magic wall doll to the isolation venue. When Conan and EG heard this, they couldn't help but exclaimed, "What? Don't you understand? It's just, stop talking nonsense. Tell me the specific position you are responsible for. I must have told you, right?" Hege asked quickly. Point, and Conan has already started calling Xyalan point. It's a pity that Xyalan didn't hear the sound of the illustrated book, because the atmosphere on the field was very lively at this time and there were cheers all around. The master said that my strength is actually not enough, so I was asked to be responsible for the side of the host without an audience. No, I can't contact Xyalan, Conan said, and he couldn't wait to release Skateboard Rotom. Hege also called Kazuha while riding an e-donkey with Rotom on it. His e-donkey was only strengthened by Rotom and was not completely integrated. Point, the two of them rushed to the carnival site quickly. Carnival final scene. Point, Eminem also didn't expect that his opponent's Bite the Land Shark would have such a big reaction to Dance of Dragons. This gave Leoben, who had no chance at all, an extra chance of winning out of thin air. I saw the Bite Land Shark, who had lost his mind at this time and continued to reverse scale, and the Bangerous, who had the dragon power in his body after the second Dragon Dance, flying to the sky fighting while escaping, even though Bangerous looks a bit bulky and indeed not flexible enough. After jet acceleration, the sprint speed is not slow at all. Point, although it can't fly all over the place like the Shakarus, it can still spray and stay in the air for a short time. It's a bit like a slow fall after a big jump, and it also starts an aerial battle with the Bite Land Shark. Point, at this moment, the two collided in the air again, and the Bite Land Shark actually fought hard and locked Leoben with the double fins on his arms, causing the two to become entangled in the air, and this also caused both parties to fly sideways. By coincidence, they broke a huge helium balloon on the host's side. Chapter 624, a critical moment. At the Carnival Monster Cup finals, Bite Shark and Bangerous were fighting together in the air when they accidentally encountered a huge helium balloon. Point, of course, this balloon will burst in front of two giant beasts. Normally it wouldn't be a big deal if the balloon burst, but the problem is, I saw Bite Land Shark and Bangerous being wrapped in balloon skins at first and hitting the ground. At this time, Eminem and Tiramisu frowned at the same time, although there was no I saw my partner, but I had a vague feeling in my heart. Point, the next moment, under the jets of air from both sides, The balloon skin was quickly torn open, and the bite land shark and Bangerous that appeared in front of everyone were a little not quite right. There was a funny colored cloth covering the heads of both parties, or wearing a spherical colored cover. Anyway, it looks funny. Eminem and Tiramisu were also stunned, and then their pupils trembled at the same time. The audience's voices stopped abruptly. Was this arranged? Suddenly turned into a funny style. There were also a few well-informed people off the court, including UR Planning, who suddenly reacted. At the same time, Hiji and Conan were seen falling from the sky with a burst of engine sound. They rushed up a slope set from a distance, and then flew directly into the crowd. The vast majority of the audience was still in a daze at this time, thinking that these two stuntmen were also part of the script, and wondering, was this final real or fake? Still comparing, but at this moment, Hiji fell from the sky and grabbed the host's microphone, while Conan crashed into the dubbing studio nearby. The next moment, this is not a drill. There are high explosives. Everyone, start evacuating from the outer circle. Repeat, this is not a drill. While the staff was stunned, Conan turned off the other BGM and turned Hiji's voice to the maximum volume. Suddenly the scene was in chaos. Generally speaking, at this time, people will consider that after panic spreads, it will easily lead to a stampede. People in this world are more anti-trauma, but that does not mean that there will be no casualties. However, the prerequisite for keeping confidentiality and maintaining stability is that there is no risk of explosives exploding for the time being. The reason for coming here now is that the explosive hood over there is about to take effect. If people gather here, it will definitely cause huge casualties. Conan and EG estimate that if that guy Kaujin is still alive, it will definitely not happen at this time. Instead of detonating it, he will choose a time when there are few people around. After all, there is only one target he wants to kill. Now this is indeed an accident. The second reason is because the terrain here is special. The carnival venue is a competition ground set up in the middle of a large open space, surrounded by layers of spectators, all standing and watching. It is as simple as the world's best martial arts conference. In other words, this place is not like an ordinary competition ground, which only has a few fixed exits and passages, which can easily get crowded. Instead, it can spread out in all directions without being restricted by the terrain. Even so, there is a certain danger in sudden evacuation, but when Bite Land Shark and Bankulus have been covered with explosive hoods, they can only choose the lesser of two evils. After a brief silence, the surroundings immediately became chaotic. People were pushing and leaving, and there were indeed those with low quality. At this time, Pokémon was released in the crowd. As for Yuanzi and others, they were right next to the battlefield and closest to the explosion source, but they didn't receive any push. Amu! Yuanzi exclaimed quickly. Eminem and Tiramisu should be the first people to realize what this thing is. After all, they have a connection with their Pokémon. But at this time, neither of them had any intention of giving up. They couldn't take back the Pokémon now, but if they were left alone, the lives of both Bankulus and Bite Shark would be in danger. After the explosive head of explosion is put on, it induces the Pokémon to use Shocking Big Head and the power of Ultimate Beasts has no safety valve compared to Pokémon. Pokémon usually only hurts other Pokémon and humans, unless it is malicious or murderous. Not dead, only in a few cases, such as if the gap between the offensive and defensive sides is too large. Accidents may occur, but the ultimate alien beasts are different. Every move they make is the result of the greatest malice and murderous intent. The same goes for the induced Shocking Big Head. Although the skill was activated, it was just a backlash. But, looking at the distance between the two, they were probably going to eat each other's Shocking Big Head. Plus I fainted due to the backlash from the skill. It would definitely be a disaster. Eminem didn't care about any rules or irregularities at this time, and immediately stimulated his animal senses with all his strength, making himself connected with Leoban's mind, and tried his best to suppress the force that led Leoban to self-destruct. Shark. saw that Tiramisu was also appeasing his biting land shark, and at the same time, released another biting land shark. Ordinarily, releasing other Pokémon at this time, and approaching rashly would only increase casualties, and may even have an irritating effect point, but when this biting land shark came out, its momentum was indeed completely different. It's just that no one is paying attention here now. At the moment when this biting land shark was released, I saw the old man's head with a funny head on the field, still raised his head and roared, and then he actually broke free from the control, stretched out his hand, and pulled his head. A piece of the explosion hood was torn off. The next moment, without waiting for the bite the land shark reaction released after Tiramisu, Leixi, with his mouth half open, went up to bite the shark's head. Of course, it's not an evil type of bite, just an ordinary bite, and the target is not bite the land shark, but the explosive hood that is guiding the shark to self-destruct. Immediately, a piece of shark's exploding hood was bitten off. Tiramisu couldn't help but be stunned when he saw this scene. The young trainer opposite him actually calmed down the Pokémon controlled by the explosive hood before he did. No, it cannot be said to be more advanced. Even Tiramisu can only make the shark temporarily resist the guidance, but cannot make it break free on its own. In contrast, Eminem's animal senses were fully activated, causing Leixi to wake up briefly. The effect of the destroyed explosive hood has been greatly reduced. Even if it induces self-destruction, the power will drop sharply. However, the alarmed shark was distracted at this time, and was unable to resist the guidance. Under the resonance, Leixi could not restrain himself but just when both of them were shining with big heads, the bite land shark appeared later. At this time, he waved his right claw, and countless rock slabs condensed with rock system energy suddenly rose from around the two. Shasha and Leixi were immediately surrounded separately. The next moment, both explosions sounded, but the impact force did not affect the surrounding rock slabs at all. It just rushed upward. Then the rock slab dispersed, and only the two Pokémon inside were seen. At this time, they just fainted due to overdraft. Dang. I wish everyone a happy spring festival and good luck. There is another update today, challenging many updates during the spring festival. If there is less, that is a failed challenge. Looking for a monthly ticket for the new year. Chapter 625 Bamboo Orchid. The carnival final scene was already in a mess. Following two explosions, the crowd fled even more. Fortunately, the explosion did not really affect the audience. Although some people were injured in the stampede, no one was seriously injured and no one died. The two lead Pokémon were also treated immediately because they were not hurt by the other party's explosion, but only by their own overdraft. The situation was not serious. Not long ago, Hiji and Conan were also scolded by Yumi. Of course, Yumi actually understood that the reaction of the two people at that time was indeed the correct approach to minimize casualties as much as possible. And, even without their warning, when it really self-destructs, the audience will still run away, and it will probably be even more hurried and disorderly. So it was only Yumi, the cousin, who scolded Hiji. Eminem was currently in the waiting room outside the Pokémon Center's rescue room with Tiramisu. The previous disguise of Tiramisu has actually been blown away by some of the aftermath of the explosion, coupled with the intensity of the bite land shark that appeared later. Rock blockade is all fun. She has a trick, and can be called a rock wall. Eminem can completely recognize her true identity, even if it is the first time he meets her. After all, although it was the first time I met him, I had seen the photos and videos often before. Bamboo Orchid, the league champion of the Sinnoh region. Eminem never imagined that, by participating in a village competition, he would actually meet the league champion. To fish. At this time, he and Zilan were in the waiting room, and Amu was doing fine. Yuanzi, Xiaolan, and Hei had already transformed into fangirls. As for Eminem, league champion, it's not like I haven't seen him before. Eminem is very familiar with the person Kanto is about to take office. As the beauty champion, Zilan is also very popular among women. Among men, Zilan and Kalunia are probably about as popular as each other, but among women, Zilan is obviously more popular, because Banjalus and Bite the Land Shark are not dangerous at this time. The atmosphere is not solemn. Fortunately, Miss Zilan is here, otherwise the previous shocking big head will definitely cause greater casualties. He complimented Zillan at this time. Zake, as I saw that Zillan, who calmed down the explosion with just a few gestures, was so much better than Heiji, who knew how to shout for evacuation and caused a stampede accident. No, Eminem had already destroyed Explosive Head at that time and its power was greatly reduced. And if Shark hadn't been unable to suppress it midway, Eminem's Bankulus should have been able to completely destroy Explosive Head. Zillan said modestly at this time. At this time, Zillan, who was wearing black clothes and a black cape skirt, also looked at Eminem with interest. Miss Zillan was too modest. At that time, Leoben was unable to complete the complete destruction and could only make the explosion less powerful. Without Miss Zillan, there would still have been an explosion affecting the audience. And even without me, it would have been others. Miss Zillan can also withstand the complete, shocking big head. The situation will not be any different from now. Eminem said truthfully. E.g., who had just been trained, muttered in a low voice, if you two weren't the ones to enter the finals, Explosive Head wouldn't have been knocked out. But, just as he spoke, he glared at him. It's all you. You rashly called for evacuation. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured. Given the situation at that time, this young man's judgment was correct. Zillan said on the side, to help E.G. Seeing the beauty champion speaking for him, E.G. blushed in embarrassment, but Kazuha's eyes turned even more disgusting. But, then again, what's going on? Why is there that thing at the scene? Eminem looked at E.G. at this time. Just when E.G. was about to speak, Conan coughed a few times, reminding him that Zillan was still there. There is no need for the Synology champion to know about this kind of thing, right? The Quartz Alliance would be very embarrassed. It should be related to the case you are investigating, right? Seeing that E.G. didn't speak, Eminem asked in a lackluster manner. Zillan looked at Conan with a little doubt at this time. Did the people mentioned by Eminem include this little boy? When Conan saw this, he immediately started acting cute, without even bothering to remind E.G. When E.G. met Amu, he had already asked this point, so he had no choice but to tell the details of the case. So, it's all a disaster, isn't it? And the Yuanzhou area is really... Eminem didn't say the last part of the sentence. The smuggling of dangerous goods in the Yuanzhou area is really rampant. At this moment, someone added the second half of Eminem's sentence and also walked into the waiting room. Eminem also turned his head and looked over curiously. See who is so emotionally intelligent. It turned out that what came in was a red-haired man. He was dressed in smart clothes and slightly disheveled. He looked like he was riding over on some high-speed Pokémon, or flying over. Mr. Adu, everyone immediately recognized the person who came. It was Adu, who was about to become the champion of the Johto region. Zillan asked the organizer to hide her identity. Moreover, if something like this happened, the organizer of the carnival did not want everyone to know that she had been humiliated in front of the Sinnoh champion, so she did not reveal the identity of Tiramisu to the outside world. But naturally, it cannot be hidden from the Alliance and Junsha. Judging from Adu's appearance, he must have hurried over after hearing what happened. Eminem can also understand if Zillan was just interested in participating in a village competition and everything was normal, there would be no need for Adu to rush to see her. But, now the champion of the Synology is actually attacked by the ultimate alien dangerous object in his own territory. This is a big problem, although it is clear that with Zillan's strength ordinary ultimate alien dangerous objects cannot be effective at all, and the people in the Pokémon world are simpler. At least Zillan will not be like some gangster who uses the topic after the ship sinks, taking the opportunity to blackmail someone. But the nature of the matter was so bad that Adu rushed over immediately out of courtesy. Sorry, I'm just kidding, Adu said to Zillan. It's nothing. If I hadn't quietly participated in the competition, maybe this thing wouldn't have been triggered. Zillan's reasonable appearance moved Adu, who had recently frequently interacted with a certain gangster who was about to take office, to the point of being moved to tears. A reason why Zillan is here is because during the Chinese New Year, Adu and Sakaki took office, and there will be a 4-party meeting on the Xianguan continent, and Mikali will also come. By the way, I came half a month early this time. Do you have any archaeological plans? As the host, I want to entertain you well. I need someone to accompany me. Just As Adu opened his mouth, Zealand interrupted, "No, if possible. I would like to ask Mr. Ambu to accompany me to see it." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.